it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a very, very, very special edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobler. Of course, just got to unmute that.
Hello.
There we go. Beautiful. Wow, loud. I think it's loud because of the last time we were on. It was, or maybe you just screamed.
I did scream.
All right, good. There we go.
I screamed. Both
so, folks,
on the inside and the outside.
Yes. Yeah, the inside and the outside. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show today. Great crowd filing in for the Year in Review edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. We got 471 strong on the Rumble chat. We got 463 strong in the YouTube chat. And we have Jake in the booth tonight. How about that? Jake is joining us for the end of the year show as he closes out his holiday break. And then he has to go back to Hungary to reapply for his H-1B visa so that he can continue working with us next year. So that's why he wanted to make sure he got in one more work day before the trip back. So thank you, Jake, for being here tonight.
We insisted on it as a condition of our continued employment.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. Absolutely. Well, folks, we thank you all very much for being here today. We got a very exciting show. These are the fun shows. We like doing these shows, the year in review shows. We're going to be breaking down the best and the worst of 2024. And then, of course, we are going to be making our predictions for 2025. We'll also review some of our predictions for 2024 and see how we did. So we got quite a bit going on. We want to thank all of our patrons and paid members who joined us yesterday. If you were one of the cool kids and you were a paid member, you got a doubleheader yesterday. We had an interview with Jordan Sheridan, whose new book, We the Poisoned, is really remarkable, and we had a great interview with him. The reviews of that, early reviews of that, are pretty good. That's available to watch for members only right now on a Rumble link. It'll be premiered probably tomorrow night. I think it's tomorrow night, right? 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Jimmy's
People
not on tomorrow
at that
night,
point,
so
their heads will have cleared.
Yeah. Well, there's no Jimmy Dore show tomorrow. He's on Thursday this week, so that time slot will be free and clear, so we'll be able to drop that there. We'll probably do that 7 o'clock tomorrow night. And then we did Miracle on 34th Street and had a great time with the film club yesterday. So we had a busy day's work yesterday, so if you're a patron, you saw us twice yesterday. Yes.
We are closing out, as we started, the hardest working men in podcasting.
Crushing it, as they say.
Crushing it. Living our best life.
Living our best life. That's right. Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, we are going to jump right in. We, of course, want to start the show by recapping the best and the worst of 2024. So, to start things off, we are going to run down the winners of the year, not to be confused with the dissidents of the year. Dissidents don't always win. Sometimes dissidents lose, and so we award dissidents last since that's what really counts. This year, the winners are mostly not good, believe me, not good.
Not good.
But one of the undisputed winners of the year is, of course, Donald Trump, mounting perhaps the most remarkable political comeback in American history. I can't think of
Probably
someone...
not mounting Melania much these days, but she's there.
Yes. He mounted a comeback, not mounting Melania, but made up for that lack of mounting by mounting a historic comeback. When you look at everything that the system threw at him, for God knows what reason, they seem to be getting most of what they want, but we can't get in their heads. Between the January 6th and then the lawfare and then the near miss in Pennsylvania, to come back and back and back, Trump is a contradiction. He's an enigma. On the one hand, yeah, he's a rich kid born with a silver spoon in his mouth. On the other hand, he is as tenacious a fighter as you will find. You can't say he's spoiled in that sense. He's not. He didn't have the fight spoiled out of him. Didn't have the effort spoiled out of him.
Well,
and,
the key to that is it's very much like the Kennedy kids. If you're a rich fuck and you don't want your kids to be spoiled and worthless, you have to deny them your love, make them fight for it and compete for it, and then never quite be able to achieve it, so that for the rest of their lives, they're fighting to get your love by fighting the world.
Right.
So his father pulled that off with a very aloof, kind of abusive relationship, as people describe it, very much like Joe Kennedy would make his kids compete to get his affection and approval, and that made them competitive and fucked up. Very much like Trump, competitive and fucked up, as his father intended.
Yep, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true, and there's no denying he is among the year's big winners. Big winners.
Oh, yeah.
And one other guy we got to give props to is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., one of the big winners of the year.
Stock up on your seed oil, folks.
Exactly. RFK Jr. began 2023 launching what we were certain was going to be a feckless and fruitless Democratic primary run. A lot of people ask, what the hell are you thinking running inside the Democratic Party? But he really put Bernie to shame in terms of political strategy, because whereas Bernie Sanders ran out a rigged primary to the end and then folded and endorsed a Democrat, look at the trajectory he carved for himself. And perhaps this is that Kennedy blood, having that political instinct that's sort of in your DNA when you have that last name. But he went from running a surely doomed Democratic primary campaign to an independent campaign, to then strategically dropping out, ending the independent campaign, endorsing Donald Trump, and now he is seemingly on a glide path to becoming head of Health and Human Services. We have not seen the confirmation hearings yet.
They call me the Moadib of trans fats.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, we haven't heard the confirmation hearings yet, but usually when you're gonna get denied, we start hearing chirping about that before the confirmation hearings, and so far, not much. We'll see what happens, but no matter what happens at the confirmation hearing next year, there's no doubt that he played his cards exactly right over the course of this campaign. From Democrat to independent to Trump surrogate to nominee for Health and Human Services, that's a win.
Yep. He definitely played his cards right. And I think at first people thought, well, is he going to be able to get through the Senate? Looks more and more like he probably will. If they mount a fight, I don't think it's going to be around him. I think they're going to be like, let that crazy bastard through. Our institutions are so corrupt, they'll handcuff him anyway. That's where it's going to get really interesting. If they put him in there, hey, like you go to Japan, they don't have food coloring.
Right.
They don't have these preservatives where I just saw an article. I think it's in Finland or Norway. The last McDonald's closed 16 years ago. And they still have the fries and the hamburger under like a pie dish,
right?
And it's not moldy. You can't. So this is what he's proposing in terms of food. Other countries have their food regulated like that, and it's much to the health of their citizens. So, they might just say, "Hey, let it go." Then again, he's going to face so much resistance. You would have to overhaul our entire food industry. They would have to change the way they make everything. Are they going to let him do that? It's an open question.
Well, we will not know that until 2025. But as the calendar ends in 2024, he's definitely in a stronger place than he was at the beginning of the year, and so that's a win.
No more
Obviously,
Twinkies for you, fat boy.
Elon Musk, most powerful man in the world, clearly a win. We've seen all that. Not much to expand upon there.
Big time. We're going to get into, because I made a prediction about Tesla last year, so I had to dig into how it performed this year. And in terms of the stock, it was just kind of coasting along the bottom. It had already kind of tanked. And it was just staying there. Soon as Trump won, spike.
Yep. There you go. So Elon.
Talk about playing your cards right, man. He rolled the dice. I mean, if the Democrats had won, he'd be fucked now.
Yep. But now he's ordering Congress around. So arguably the most powerful man on earth right now, Elon Musk.
He made the right bet. He backed the right horse.
That's right. All right. Slide number 4. Joe Biden, winner of the year.
Yeah.
So one of the big winners of the year, as you can see.
All right. So I this was my call.
Talk about playing your cards right.
Yeah, this is why.
Talk about 4D chess.
Joe Biden is a man of Nixonian resentments. He is somebody who has resented the power elite in the Democratic Party, particularly as over the course of his very long, one might say too long, political career, the party has really shifted away from old-time, corrupt, kind of working class signaling politicians like himself towards the Obama Ivy educated consultant class bred politicians, and they treated him like he was stupid, which he is, but he always resented it. Talk about going in there and burning the fucking place to the ground. He is leaving. He burned down the DNC and then he pissed on the cinders of the DNC on the way out the door. He was far more successful than Nixon ever was in getting his revenge against these elitists that he's hated for his entire career. Hence putting on the Trump hat and smiling ear to ear in his Oval Office meeting with Trump. That doesn't look like a man who didn't get what he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'd say between this troll move, between Jill Biden wearing a bright red dress to the voting booth, and his very, very pleasant experience with Donald Trump in the post-election meeting, I would say it's better than 50-50 voted for the guy. He's the kind of petty egomaniac who would.
Yep.
And talk about playing your cards right. Congratulations to Joe Biden. Had one more win left in him. But the big winner this year, of course, Miriam Adelson. Miriam Adelson, arguably the winner of the year. Not all of these are in order. Some of these are just, we're distributing them equally, but she is the big winner this year.
She's the big winner.
In terms of
that's who you
real
elected.
estate. Right. Yeah, that's who you elected. President Miriam Adelson. Absolutely.
Yep. That's your president. That's your president. Get a good look at her. Kamala wanted to be the first female president. It actually wound up being Miriam Adelson.
Miriam Adelson. That's right. Between Miriam Adelson and Elon Musk controls, who's in office, and she controls what's the Charlie Brown line? What I want for Christmas? Real estate. Right? She's going to get a whole lot of real estate. Ultimately, it's all about real estate. And so those are the big winners of 2024.
Yep. She is the Citibank of 2024. She gets to pick the cabinet.
Exactly. She is the Citibank of 2024. That's right. It's her list that they picked off. Absolutely. Britsman, thanks for the $1.99 over on YouTube, says Vanguard equals caboose of the clickbait human centipede. Thank you, Britsman. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah, but you know what? Because that used to be a crowded lane, and everyone else said, there's a genocide going on. I don't think I want to do the he said this about her and she said this about him. They got the lane to themselves now. Everyone else outgrew it. So good for them.
Good for them. Everybody's got to eat. Michael Castillo, thanks for the $100. Let's get Michael's sound drop going and his cowbell going. There you go. I'll get your sound drop right here.
As for me against you, what the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ, you loser?
Michael, for $100, thank you very much. Says, good afternoon, gentlemen. I would like to wish you and yours a memorable 2025. What's the point of fighting for something if you're not willing to die for it? Free Palestine. Thank you, Michael, and Happy New Year to you. That's very kind of you, very generous. We appreciate you very much And full steam ahead for the new year. Thank you, my friend. JM, thanks for the $2 and the thumbs up over on YouTube. We got some Rumble rants here. Hillary Hinton, Beatles songs as porn movie names. I'll go first. Got to get you into my wife. Happy New Year, you magnificent bastards. Well, you sprung that on me real quick. I'll just go with in my wife. There you go. How's that?
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
Pretty quick reflex. I guess I Am the Walrus could be its own porn name. You don't even need that. You don't even need to improvise.
A whole website's dedicated to that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Back in the USSR. Let's see here. What do we got here? Just got an interesting fact. I got a pineapple, mango, and ginger sparkling water drink called Bonsai. It looks and tastes exactly like Mountain Dew. That's the secret Mountain Dew flavor. Interesting theory, Nocturnal Human. Interesting theory. Thank you for floating that our way. Appreciate that very much. All right, folks. Like I said, we will keep reading the Rumble rants and the Super Chats as the afternoon continues. But for every winner, there is, of course, a loser. So now we will get ourselves into the losers of the year. These are not necessarily the worst people of the year. We have a category for that as well. But these are the losers. These are the people came out on the losing end of things. We start with Barack Obama. Barack Obama, from kingmaker of the Democratic Party to a jack in the ranks, overstepped, had Joe Biden jump the gun and endorse Kamala Harris without his green light. He couldn't get the Mark Kelly who he wanted. Don't forget, Biden was slow to endorse Kamala after that big switcheroo. He had to lean on George Clooney to get Joe Biden out of the race. And he was not able to maneuver his preferred candidate, which reporting says is Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, to the top of the ticket, who he thought had a good chance to beat Trump. Instead, Biden jumped the gun, endorsed Harris. Within 24 hours of Biden dropping out, Harris had the delegate nomination clinched, and Obama did not handle that very well either, as we know. So Russell has some video here to remind us of what a fall from grace he endured this year.
Yeah, this is where all of the condescending narcissism that people have been talking about for his entire political career really turned sour. This is where even his greatest fans couldn't help but notice, yeah, this guy's kind of an asshole. So here we go.
Is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
That is the moment that he is never going to get out from under.
Yep.
And say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. Who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Wow. He's never going to live that one down.
No.
And he's been doing that forever. It's just, it's very much like I remember when Sex and the City 2 got panned. And all of a sudden there were all these reviews about how it's a franchise about this rapacious, shallow group of women. And it was just amazing because it had always been that. But the times changed. So it didn't play anymore. All of a sudden, everybody knew it because it was after the financial crash. So it just wasn't a good look. The whole Sex and the City thing just played completely differently. he's missing a step, definitely, but it's also partly that. I think the times have changed, and he just can't get away with this shit anymore. I think he could have done this 10 years ago, and the news would have been go, yes, they needed to hear that.
Right. Exactly. But there was also credible reporting that he didn't want Kamala either. And you could see even when he was on the stump for her, and he didn't do that many dates for her the way he did for Hillary Clinton. I mean, he barnstormed the country for Hillary Clinton. The 2020 campaign was what it was because of the pandemic, but there was very credible reporting backed up by a timeline of events which suggested very strongly that he did not want her. He did not think she could win. And so even when he wasn't lecturing young black men in private, of course that's fair. Even when he wasn't lecturing them in private, his stump speeches just had no energy. No energy. And this is a guy who he probably still is the leader of the Democratic Party, but what Democratic Party? It's in shambles. It's in
leader
shambles.
Of what?
And he has been knocked down several pegs this year. There's no question about that. Another big loser of the year, more broadly speaking, of course, is the Resistance. This is what I think when I think the Resistance. So the Resistance encapsulates MSNBC. It encapsulates Alvin Bragg and Jack Smith and the lawfare against Donald Trump, that whole ecosystem.
The cowbell left.
Liberal Twitter. Rob Reiner checked himself into a rehab. You haven't seen much from George Takei lately. You haven't seen much noise made from the Resistance liberals. They are arguably the biggest loser of the year, but certainly among them, no doubt about that, which is why we are so excited about the future, despite the pretty daunting challenges that we see in front of us.
Yeah, actually, maybe we'll do this Thursday. There just wasn't time. Did you see Jesse Signal wrote an article about his experiences on Blue Sky? And, he's a lib, but he's written a lot about trans medicine with kids, and he went on Blue Sky. And, of course, all the trans activists went on to Blue Sky, and they're making death threats against him, like blatant 2 in the head would be the best thing for this guy, and he's complaining to Blue Sky's administration. Completely ignored. Like, they don't even take these people off the platform. So they're all running over there, and it sounds like it's really evolving into exactly what you would expect that to look like. The concern isn't with death threats; it's with who makes them and against who. Really?
Yeah.
So good luck on your Blue Sky Island, guys.
Well, that's where they are relegated to, and the whole resistance liberal movement, the whole philosophy of it, and it really was never a philosophy at all.
It just collapsed.
It just completely collapsed. So a huge L for them. Hollywood, a big loser of the year.
Okay, so Hollywood, broadly speaking, production is down in the United States 40% this year. Box office is down 3% from last year, but that represents a 23% drop from pre-pandemic revenues. Also, if you're talking just geographically about Los Angeles itself, so feature films shot there versus the 5-year average down 48%. Commercials are down 32.6%. Television shoots are down 53.2%. Overall versus the 5-year average, down 27.8% just in Los Angeles County. So yeah, Hollywood is cooked.
Took a bath this year, of course. Another enterprise, Boeing, loser of the year. That was one of our beats this year. That was one of our running themes this year, both on this show and the Jimmy Dore show.
Yeah, and ironically, at the height of this, I was flying back and forth from Los Angeles every few weeks. It was terrifying because every Jimmy Dore show, I'm covering like something falling off a Boeing plane and then flying back to New York. Usually I'm not really a nervous flyer. I was much more nervous than usual during that whole period. Yeah, Boeing stock for what it's worth, is down 32% for the year. And it started right at the top of the year. January 5th, the Alaska Airlines flight, the door plug blows out. When they investigate, it turns out they didn't tighten up the bolts. There's no real chain for them to even trace of records kept on how that even happened. The FAA dug into their factory procedures and found everything is done very badly. As we'll get into, a lot of whistleblowers started to come out and reveal really terrifying things. This is something I covered on the show before it blew up, fortunately, not literally. And this is the year that really the accidents and problems that people had been predicting for a long time, like this had been a conversation, but it was relegated to the fringes. You already had whistleblowers who had come out and said about Boeing they wouldn't put their kids on a Boeing plane who worked at Boeing.
Right.
And this is when, thank God, it's amazing that none of these planes have actually gone down. There was just a Boeing that went down in South Korea, but it's one of the older planes. It's a 737. It's not these planes that have been made under this regime, 787 Dreamliner, the MAX series. Those are ones I would not get on at this point.
Well, Boeing definitely a big loser of the year. Little Rishi Sunak, also a big loser. Big loser of the year. The Tories down 251 seats from their 2019 representation. Now, unfortunately, you can't really gloat in his defeat since he was replaced by Keir Starmer and just very, very badly compromised and deballed Labour Party. But given this guy's just absolutely terrifying position on free speech, I remember we covered this. We had Ian Puttick join us, our friend Ian Puttick, and join us and watch his address. Just really, really aggressively threatening pro-Palestine protesters in a way that you could not get away with in a country with a First Amendment. Now, our First Amendment, we know what our First Amendment's worth at the end of the day when the chips are really down. But it has to get to that point before a politician could say what he said. Good riddance to Rishi Sunak and to the Tories. Unfortunately, they were replaced.
Not that speech is any better under Keir Starmer.
Yeah, frankly. Not that. Unfortunately, meet the new boss, kind of same as the old boss. Yeah. But still a pleasure to see him go. And that was just a humiliating drubbing that the Tories took under his leadership. Don't forget, hey, I don't know if it was this year or if it was last year technically, but remember Barack Obama made a visit to his house? Remember Obama made that mysterious visit to 10 Downing Street? I think it was before the election. Yeah, exactly.
Remember that.
Yeah. So that you could maybe give a little bit of that L to Obama as well. Anything on Rishi?
He's got enough problems. Well, I had just been in England to cover the Assange hearings, if you remember, and he was talking about the anti-Semitic slogans that had been projected onto Big Ben. And I happened to have the footage showing that what he was referring to was free Palestine.
Ceasefire now. Stop bombing.
Now.
Let Gaza live, I think. It was let go, something like that.
Right.
Stop bombing Gaza.
That's what he was defining as anti-Semitism.
Yeah. So no love lost there. Good riddance to Rishi Sunak, one of the big losers of the year. But ultimately, I think we are in agreement, Russell and I, the biggest loser of the year. Western civilization, the standing of the West. You might call this the rules-based order, but I wouldn't necessarily call it the rules-based order. I think that's a loaded term. I think the West, overall, is the big loser of the year. They have suffered reputational damage, the likes of which they will not recover in our lifetimes, guaranteed.
Yeah, as AOC might say, we have suffered great reputational harm due to the positions that we've taken. So when we say Western civilization, we don't mean it the way the IDW, and we'll get to them in the course of these segments. We don't mean it the way the IDW does. Oh, the glories of the West are under assault from the woke mob. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
The idea, and one might say propaganda, but very effective propaganda, that the West stood for a human ideal, for a humanist philosophy that all people around the world would embrace if only they could. That idea has been burned to the ground. The idea of Western moral authority. I saw Joe Biden made a stumbling speech, if you want to call it that, about Jimmy Carter. And he starts it's our values. We show our values around the world. It's a profanity to say something like that now. It's a joke, and you can just feel the way the whole paradigm has shifted, so that even if you always recognize those kinds of pronouncements as propaganda, nobody can even buy the propaganda anymore. It just plays as absurd to hear any American spokesperson like Count Morlock when they start going on about values and rule of law. We've just completely lost what you could argue has been key to the success of the West, such as it is since the post-war period: soft power, that ability to convey the idea that we have some kind of moral authority, that the way that we do things is better than other people inherently, and you're better off following our lead. We've lost all of that. And I suspect we're going to find out how important that really was to sustaining our position in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. Bassem Youssef gave a clip, one of his many viral clips over the past year, is that he never wants to hear a lecture about human rights or dignity from any Westerner ever again. That says it all. And I mean, how could you blame a person for that? I mean, he's 100% right.
Right.
100% right. All right, folks. We're gonna take a little game break here, folks. So you guys, some of you guys, have signed up as Dissident sponsors. So if you have a passion project or an art project or music or a book or a small business or a cause that you're invested in and you would like to promote it on this platform, you can help us help you by filling out a contact form at dodissidents.com/sponsors. So one of our dissident creators who has done just that is DJ Vulture, and he says he's sold a few albums based on the read, so I'm very grateful that you guys supported DJ Vulture. So DJ Vulture, I'll tell you a little bit about him. He's an artist, producer, and DJ in Detroit, Michigan. His album, Rise, is a politically charged sonic exploration that traverses multiple genres. Tracks like Politrix, If You Want to Get Hurt, and Indira Chain invoke the memory of Public Enemy, Wu-Tang Clan, Company Flow, while pieces such as 1849, Brainwashed Pink, and Cannibal Zombie are brutally industrial, reminiscent of Skinny Puppy and Ministry. Others, such as I Will Not, Circles in the Sky, and Singularity, are ethereal, dreamy, and hallucinogenic. With Rise, DJ Vulture has expanded beyond your typical electronic music to include live vocals, guitars, synths, percussion, and of course, it wouldn't be a DJ record without turntablism. So help support the underground and pick up the soundtrack for the revolution, Rise, on Bandcamp for just $10. So you can go check out his album and purchase it on Bandcamp if you'd like. We have our own hyperlink for that, dodissidents.com/DJ. Thank you, Jake, for putting that on the screen. So go check that out and support our dissident artists. Thank you, DJ, as always. Sparky says, free Greenland from Danish tyranny. Thank you, Sparky. I'll give you a heart for that. I like that. You know what I've been doing? You know what's fun? What would be see, the travel channels on YouTube are what do really well. Like people who travel the world.
Food.
You know what I've been? Yeah,
food
food. Well,
channels.
food. Yeah, food. That's what I get on all my reels and shorts are like beef cooked medium rare. Like it's all people chopping meat in vertical short videos with music under them. See, we're doing it all wrong. We're overthinking this. We should just be We should just be hacking meat.
I always say that.
Yeah,
I always say that.
Yeah, we should just make a roast beef and carve it on the screen. We'd probably make a fortune.
I'm working
slumming
on my,
it over here talking politics.
My India video, hopefully, I think that should be ready for Sunday, and that's going to be a multi-part thing. But I'm like, you're doing this whole like memoir video essay thing. Like, really, you want to be like, this was where I had the hottest curry.
Right.
Like, you really want the hits. They don't want this heavy Faulkner-esque introspection.
Right, exactly. Out on R says, where does the trans with a Schmendrick line come from? I must know. Peace and love. Here, let's hit that for him now so that everybody knows what we're talking about. Here it is.
A trans with a Schmendrick swinging it in a girl's bathroom.
There's a segment we did a while ago. I don't even know if it's still up. I forget where it was or where we did it or how we did it. But Michael Savage, the old radio host, he very often posts videos of him cooking and talking to the audience. And so he went on a rant. He was just, went on a rant. He's cooking some chicken and basil. That was the other good part of that rant. Yeah. Kamala Harris is a communist who will steal your last leaf of basil if you let her. Yeah. And then he talks about the media.
The communists are coming for your basil.
A trans with a Schmendrick swinging into the girl's bathroom, that they're okay with. They don't care. They don't mind that. But they have a problem with whatever conservative grievance of the day was. So that's where it comes from. Michael Savage, greatest content creator of all time. He was born 30 years too late. If he were our age, he would be killing it on YouTube and on TikTok, everywhere. Yeah. I mean, that guy has it. He's got the game for it.
He'd be in the Tim Pool lane.
Yeah, right, exactly. We're doing very well. Sparky, thanks for the $10. Erdogan should flood Syria with the Turkish army before the U.S. figures out how to stop him. Not ideal, but it may be Syria's only chance of pulling back from being the next Libya. Thank you, Sparky. Yasim Miller says, happy peaceful New Year, dissidents, with your loved ones. Thank you, Yasim. That's very kind of you. By the way, did you guys receive the books I sent? They should be in your P.O. box by now. I haven't checked it yet this week, but I will actually check it today because it's going to be closed tomorrow. So thank you, Yasim. I will check that today, and yes, they should be there, and we will show them to you on Thursday morning for the morning show. How's that? Thank you very much. If we end the show in time to check the mail. Oh, no, the post office is open a little bit later, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully my poster came because that's going to be part of my revised set.
Yeah, the set. Yeah. I check our P.O. box once a week because it's a little bit of a trek from my place. Kuznetsky Bassane, thanks for the $49.99. Let's get a cowbell for Kuznetsky Bassane.
Thank you, man.
Happy New Year, DD. Happy New Year to you, Kuznetsky Bassane. Thank you very, very much. Let's see here. Legend has it Mangione, Sinwar, and John McAfee are at the tropics drinking cocktails, getting a sweet tan. Oh, yeah? Faked it, huh? Fret Pound, I've been away. Have you made peace with Daryl Cooper yet? There's discord in my universe until that day. No, in fact, we didn't even put him on our any of our lists.
You know what? We should have.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
We should have.
It's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I guess doing like 6 hours of content about him is enough.
Yeah, I think that's probably good. I think we made our point.
That was like longer than the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, there you go. All right, folks. So we're going to move right on to hacks of the year. Hacks of the year. That's right. Now, who's the ultimate hack? Who's the perennial hack? Whose name is synonymous with hackdom at this point? Thomas Friedman. And so what makes this year especially a year where we should recognize him for being a hack? Because he's a hack every year. Well, we will admit there is some bias that we have exhibited this year because Thomas Friedman's hackery this year gifted us what is perhaps our favorite segment of the year that we have done. And we did not do it on this show. We did it during Russ's guest hosting stint on the Jimmy Dore show. But Thomas Friedman wrote an op-ed this year analyzing the Middle East conflict, the various Middle East conflicts, in terms of the animal kingdom. He compared various Middle Eastern leaders and United States and European leaders to animals. Yes, animals, including insects and monkeys. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what got him on the list because Friedman clearly is a perennial hack.
Right.
But this got him on the list. This was exceptional hackery even for Friedman.
Yep. So here's a little 4-minute edit. This was about a 15-minute video. This is on Jimmy's channel. I obviously urge you guys to watch this. This was one of our favorite pieces to do, and Kurt sat in and was fantastic on it. There's a little
this was probably the most fun we had doing a segment this year.
Yeah, it's probably our favorite segment of the year that we've done. This was a true riot. So here we are having some fun at Thomas Friedman, one of the many hacks of the year's expense.
Understanding the Middle East through the animal kingdom. Personally, I sometimes prefer to think about the complex relations between these parties with analogies from the natural world. Here we go, folks. The U.S. is like an old lion.
Go on.
We are still the king of the Middle East jungle.
What?
More powerful.
I mean, it's like a 7th grader writes this. I mean, it's so dumb.
This
so
isn't even a good animal
dumb.
thing.
No, it gets better. More powerful than any single actor, but we have so many scars from so many fights that we just can't show up, roar loudly, and expect that everyone will do what we want or scamper away.
He's thinking of the Lion King, not even lions.
I'm waiting for
We're like Simba.
A Hakuna Matata chorus here. We are one tired lion, and that's why other predators are no longer afraid to test us. Iran is to geopolitics what a recently discovered species of parasitoid wasp is to nature.
Go on.
What does this parasitoid wasp do? According to Science Daily, the wasp, quote, injects its eggs into live caterpillars, and the baby wasp larvae slowly eat the caterpillar from the inside out, bursting out once they have eaten their fill.
Is there an Iranian inside me?
Hamas is like the trapdoor spider. The way trapdoor spiders operate, according to a nature site, is that he just kind of Googled insects, I think, and just picked them at random.
He just Googled,
a nature site.
This is the kind of guy who corners you at a cocktail party and you cannot get out of the conversation to save your life. Like you're waiting for him to stop talking and he just never does.
Look, it leaps out, sees his prey, and hauls it back, and then tries to exchange it for spider hostages.
Yeah. Is that the spider leaps out at great speed, seizes its prey, and hauls it back into the burrow to be devoured, all in a fraction of a second. Trapdoor spiders are adept at camouflaging the doors of their underground. So they are hard to see until they're open. Finally, Netanyahu is like the Safaka labor. Which I got to observe in Madagascar.
The
Safakas are primates that use bipedal side.
Oh my God!
Oh God!
Sometimes they fun the spiders.
This is a case where the jokes really do write themselves. Safakas are primates that use bipedal.
If you're gonna do this, at least come up with animals people know what the fuck they are. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. It's like he just randomly Googled shit.
By the way, it's a monkey. A lemur's a monkey. He could have said that.
Yeah,
but he's trying to soft pedal. He just called him a monkey.
They use
Biden should drop that line on Netanyahu next time. The way, you know, my friend Thomas Raven said you were like the Safaka Libra. He said, you know, he looked at you and it reminded me of the Safaka he saw it. He was in Malaysia or one of those countries out where the fuck Indonesia, Madagascar, whatever he said he went.
Oh,
he said he looks at you, he thinks of one of them lemurs.
My granddaughter that I ignore, she has those index cards of the different animals around the world. That's one of them.
Natural enemy of the trapdoor spider.
Safakas are primates that use bipedal sideways hopping as a primary means of walking.
Jesus Christ.
They advance by moving sideways, waving their arms up and down, which makes them appear to be moving even more than they are. That's BB.
So, thank you, Thomas Friedman, for that.
Yes.
We just had to include you in the show, even though, yes, I mean, you're not. This wasn't an especially hacky year, although that was an especially hacky article.
That is still. It's still. I still can't
funny.
believe somebody filed that as a column at the New York Times and they printed it.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
Nobody said, you know, it's never a good look to compare entire groups of peoples and nations to animals and insects.
Yeah.
Didn't occur to anybody at the
Right.
at the editorial desk there that maybe you shouldn't run with this?
Oh my God, that was
Wow.
amazing. Was amazing. What a time. That really was, I think, my favorite segment of the year.
Yeah, me too. It still cracks me up.
Yeah, it's still funny. I mean, that is evergreen. That is
My
evergreen.
my friend says you're some fucking lemur.
Yeah, my friend Thomas Freeman says you look like this
It's a fucking lemur. He'd say, I'm sideways. Unreal.
All right. Well, hack of the year also, obviously for his pretty shameless post-election opportunistic pivot, which we've covered pretty extensively. We're not going to harp on it now, but that's a pretty obvious choice there.
Yes. Don't
for
think we
hack.
need to even explain that.
Yeah, I think that pretty much speaks for itself. All right, Piers Morgan. Now, I sniffed this out a year ago because I know people gave Piers a lot of credit for bringing on people like Norman Finkelstein and all of these, experts on Israel-Palestine who would strongly advocate for Gaza and for the Palestinian people. And, isn't it great? He's giving them a platform. I noticed within 3 shows, he'll interview Norman Finkelstein for an hour, and then he will act as if he hadn't heard a word he said the very next time he has another pro-Palestine. He just interrogates them the same way. Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Like, every conversation starts from a baseline of zero knowledge, which we know you don't have because we know you've been hosting debates about this for a year. Shouldn't you get smarter? Shouldn't your discourse sort of grow with each and every conversation?
Nothing.
He learns nothing on purpose.
No.
He's not a stupid guy.
Well,
he learns it, but he deliberately...
he's just doing tabloid.
Exactly. He's just doing tabloid WWE as a substitute for journalism, and that's why I would say Piers Morgan, easily a hack of the year. Anything to add?
Yeah, his innovation is he's doing these very serious global subjects that have a huge global audience because people outside of the United States are not quite as fundamentally ignorant of or uninterested in the world around them. There's a huge audience for that.
Right.
So he's like, okay, so I'm going to bring this tabloid WWE style to very, very, very serious international geopolitical topics. That's really the lane he carved out. That's his innovation.
Right.
To give that treatment to subjects that traditionally that's not what they would treat that way, as just this ridiculous wrestling match. And it's worked for him. His videos do crazy numbers.
Oh, and they consciously do it. We won't name names, but we know people who have been invited on the Piers Morgan show, and the people pitch it to them. Hey, won't it be great if you come on with this person and you guys can mix it up? Like, that's what they do. It's it's pro wrestling. They design it that way consciously. Right. And it's no secret to everybody who's been invited on the show that that's how they view it.
Right. Sure.
And so, yes, hack of the year, one of them, well-deserved. All right. Now, we put Al Sharpton on this list because, okay, so we might have to parse something here. There's a difference between a hack and a sellout. A hack is just a habitual grifter, right, who just recycles the same garbage over and over again and finds new ways to get a payday out of it.
Right.
I would consider Sharpton more a hack than a sellout, although he did apparently take a payday this year from the Kamala Harris campaign, as was recently revealed. So Russell wanted to do this.
Yeah, that's in keeping with his career. If you're from New York and you are old enough to remember Sharpton's origins as a public figure, he was always this person. Sharpton first came to prominence attaching himself to a teenage African-American girl who it turned out falsely claimed to have been sexually assaulted by a group of police officers. And even as it became clear that she had made it up, he absolutely refused to ever admit that she made it up or take responsibility, and he set absurd standards to, okay, yeah, well, I'll release the evidence I have, but you have to, climb the Brooklyn Bridge. You would just come up with these things that there was no way they were going to do to get around having to prove what he was claiming. So he's always been that person. One of the reasons that Giuliani was popular in New York is because Sharpton and people like him were indulged by the previous mayor, David Dinkins. And Giuliani, when he came in, Sharpton demanded a meeting. And Giuliani, very much for the cameras, very politically astute, he read the moment right. He said, we've wasted enough time with Sharpton and clowns like him. He pretends to represent his community. He only represents himself. And you know what? He won a second term, partly on the strength of not dealing with people like Sharpton. So for me, Sharpton getting $500,000 and then giving Kamala Harris a softball interview, which is what he did this year, Yeah, man, that's the Tawana Brawley Al Sharpton, man. He was always that guy. He was always grifting off political movements and pretending to have some kind of a moral authority and to be in the tradition of the great civil rights leaders. He's always just been grifting off playing himself up in that way, but he's always been out for a payday.
All right, and then this was really, I guess, the ultimate, the winners, shall we say, the biggest hacks of the year.
Yes. All right. So, I'm ending the year in a very different relationship with this whole lane than I started it, because, these guys seemed much more pre-October 7th. People in this universe seemed to be fighting against a lot of ideas that came to broadly be labeled as woke that I thought they had a legitimate point about, like freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of thought, freedom of debate. And then after October 7th, all of a sudden you found out who these guys really were. And what it turned out to be is they were just Republicans updating the Republican aesthetic for the 21st century. That in the end, they were just doing the same old grift of using culture war issues to sheepdog people into a very State Department sanctioned foreign policy, as I saw when I went to Dissident Dialogues. That's why it was so eye-opening for me. They had a full display about how you might have Uyghur slave labor in your food because of the way it gets into the supply chain. Well, I mean, you got literal slaves from our prison system working at McDonald's. Didn't say right. A little closer to home. There was not one thing they said at that conference that Jake Sullivan would not have approved of regarding foreign policy. It's all ginning up fear of Iran, fear of China. It was all that. And this was really at the height of the student protest crackdowns at Columbia. This was really going on at that moment. I think it was May. And
it was early May. Yep.
Hardly a fucking word about it in the entire conference. And when they did say something about it, it tended to be negative, except for their few token free thinkers like Lee Fong, who they had there, Schellenberger, who they had there. But mostly it was hacks like this. Brett Weinstein organizes his whole Rescue the Republic thing, which was affiliated with the Rage Against the War Machine that I spoke at. And the only person who said a fucking word about Palestine was Jimmy Dore. So all of these people pretend, and Konstantin Kassin, he just did this whole video pretending he really thought about it. Yes, I thought about Palestine. And as it turns out, Israel is right. Spoiler alert. Who would have seen that coming from this fucking hack? And Jordan Peterson with his fucking newfound... it's amazing to me that people take it as sincere with Jordan Peterson and fucking Russell Brand and running around doing the Jesus thing. My God, that is the oldest grift there is. Religion, if prostitution was the world's oldest profession, then religion has to be the world's oldest grift. And I'm not saying, hey, everyone who's religious is a grifter, but these guys are. I mean, clearly, all of a sudden they turn around and decide, how you, like L. Ron Hubbard said, what did he say, according to people who knew him in the 50s? How you make real money? You start a religion. Well, they didn't start one. They went with the one that was already there. And they're making a lot of loot off of that. So, yeah, for completely betraying everything they said they believed when they were fighting the woke mind virus, all of a sudden they don't believe in freedom of the press. They don't believe in freedom of speech. All of a sudden they claimed, no, we're not Western chauvinists. We just feel Western values. All of a sudden after October 7th, no, you're Western chauvinists. So for all those reasons, this whole movement, the intellectual dark web, what a bunch of fucking hacks. Hacks of the year. Hacks of the millennium.
I mean, I was more suspicious of them from the outset because I indulged some of the new atheists back when, Hitchens was around.
Yeah, see, I didn't really know these guys.
Yeah, and so, I knew, Sam Harris, and, Sam Harris would be one of these guys if he didn't have, Trump derangement syndrome. If not for Sam Harris's hang-up about Trump, he would absolutely be one of these guys right now. I mean, his stance on Israel is indistinguishable from these guys now. So
some woke, Brett Weinstein. Oh, yeah, some woke assholes drove you out of your college. Well, I guess that justifies a genocide, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Or at least, that's not something we should ever mention or talk about or really pay any mind to whatsoever.
Well, no, he supports it. He tried to challenge Jimmy when they were doing the promotion on Spaces for Rescue the Republic. He tried to get into it with him, and Angela McArdle jumped in the middle because she didn't want
blow the event up.
She didn't want to blow the event up.
Right. Well, he said after October, Israel's response will be brutal as it must be and should be. So, yeah, no, they're hacks. And, Harris, like I said, would be one of these people if he didn't hate Trump so much. And like I said, their foreign policies are all identical. Yeah, it's just...
it's totally Jake Sullivan's foreign policy. The idea that you would present yourself as some kind of edgy rebel radical and have Jake Sullivan's views on foreign policy. I mean, and just deep state views. Because these guys really present themselves, we're fighting the deep state. You are the fucking deep state. You're just putting a Silicon Valley paint job. You're updating that for the 21st century and trying to present it as new. It's not new. It's very old. It's very old. Right-wingers using culture war issues to sheepdog people into a deep state agenda. That's all these fucking people are.
Yeah, absolutely. Hacks to the year, for sure. All right, Bejan Edema, thanks for the $5. I watch Dissidents on both YouTube and Rumble to double your profits. Call me a true capitalist. There you go. Appreciate the work, Bejan. Appreciate that.
Everyone should do that. We should tell everyone to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Game the system, baby.
Sean Hurl, thanks for the £2. Free Palestine, absolutely. Giovanni Palladori, Happy New Year. And as always, Viva Palestina. Oh, yeah, for some of you guys, it's getting to be New Year's pretty close.
Yeah,
right. For our Euro audience, it's getting late, so you guys are getting the champagne ready.
It's already past midnight in a lot of places.
In a lot of places it is, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Happy New Year to some of you if the New Year's already gotten to you. Marigold Rose, thanks for the $5. Who was Russell talking about when he said scumbag douchebag? That was the N-Wokeness account. We're talking about N-Wokeness bitching about the minimum wage. That's what
fucking scumbag douchebag.
Exactly.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Because Keaton actually clipped that.
Yeah, yep. That's who that was. We should have had Twitter hacks of the year too. We didn't even think of that. Fret Pound, that funky intro music got me thinking Russ looks like a blues jazz bass player. Keaton looks like a rhythm guitarist who plays a rick through a Fender twin reverb. Well, I am a rhythm guitarist of sorts. I play guitar. I was never really good enough to solo. I could do very basic scales and stuff, but I can't really solo. I can't really shred or rip. But I could play a rhythm guitar pretty good. So you read me right. Thank you, Fret Pound. Nujoma, gents, it was always a pleasure to watch the both of you. Thanks for the news, the fun, and the dark, great humor. Thank you, Nujoma. Appreciate that. Beatles songs. He's got a dick that's too wide. What is that a play on, though?
Yeah, what is that? He's just like, I'm just going to throw something out there.
I don't know what the... Oh, he's got a ticket to ride. All right, that's a stretch. That's a bit of a stretch.
I mean, the Beatles pretty much do it to themselves, right? She was just 17. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So,
talk about a lyric grown men can't sing now.
Yeah. Blue MAGA, thanks for the $20 at Blue MAGA. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for that generous donation. D. Wortham, Musk will push his line of optimist bots to eliminate most jobs. He advocates universal high income, but bet he did not say how that will be funded, will he? No, he wants to be the first trillionaire. Well, he is on pace for that. Absolutely, he is. Your guys' show is holding me over, says Blue MAGA, as I await the release of Daryl Cooper's next 70-hour podcast with Dave Smith called How the Third Reich Could Have Benefited from Free Markets. There you go. Thank you. That's a good one. Yes. Thank you, Blue MAGA. Appreciate that. Hey, remember when you were recommending sponsors to say don't use honey since they steal your links to get the credit for the sale? Don't use honey. What are you talking about? Not sure what that means.
When did we say that?
Not sure what that means.
Yeah, it's not us.
I don't know. M. Harry, thanks for the $4.99. You guys should watch Sam Hyde's Dear Elon video. Love from Colorado. Also, add conspiracy theory to the movie list. Conspiracy theory is not bad, actually. That's the Mel Gibson one. There's a great
one I haven't seen.
There's a great little movie that I've discovered called The Conspiracy, which is a very little known thriller. Made the festival rounds, which is excellent. We'll do that at some point. Thank you very much for that. All right, folks. So there comes a time in every award show where you pause for a special category, a special award, a special recognition carved out for a specific person. And so this year we want to give a special Slacker Award, a special achievement for having done nothing in 2024. And so we want to recognize someone who really just did nothing this past year, did nothing at all. Just took it easy, and that Slacker Award goes to Luigi Mangione. Achievement in doing nothing.
He didn't do nothing.
He didn't do anything.
He didn't do nothing.
He just, he was just, and he's actually being persecuted for the fact that he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He was just enjoying a meal at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And they come in.
Like
and
you
they,
do.
Yeah, like you do. And they come in and they say he's got this manifesto and this weapon on him. And I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I don't believe that a guy smart enough to execute that crime was dumb enough to carry the murder weapon and the manifesto on him. It just makes no sense.
Or eat McDonald's.
Right. Yeah. The whole thing stinks. And so he's being persecuted for doing nothing. It's really anti-slackerism. And so we just want to recognize Luigi Mangione for having done nothing last year. That's a special achievement award.
As a member of the slacker generation, I can tell you this is nothing new. We've been persecuted all our lives.
Yeah.
This is just they're ramping up the pressure on slackers.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just sit in a McDonald's with your COVID mask and eat your chicken McNuggets. They're going to come for you. And,
we also want him to. We also want to believe that he lowered his mask to flirt with a girl right before doing this crime and then escaping. I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. He didn't do anything, and we feel he deserves some recognition for the fact that he didn't do anything because he's being persecuted for it. He's being wrongfully roped into this whole mess. And, as people who really want to see justice done in this case, we think it's very important that whoever did this is brought to justice. This is particularly offensive because they're clearly just bringing this guy in to make it look like they solved a crime that they can't solve.
Right. Well,
so, that's not right.
And they like to persecute slackers because they know by definition the other slackers probably won't do anything about it.
Exactly. Well, those days are over. So special achievement in doing nothing last year goes to Louis there. Louis, as we call him.
He didn't do nothing.
He didn't do nothing. Guy didn't do nothing. Prove it. Prove he did something. Go ahead. Prove that evidence.
Try to prove it.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck. All right, folks. So now we're going to go on to sellouts of the year. Now, the difference between a sellout and a hack is a sellout is a person who has at least some sense of principle about them and then gives it away. That's the difference. A hack is an unprincipled person. A sellout is someone who gives their principles up, right? Or, at the very least, sells something in exchange to compromise a group of people, right? All right. So, sellout of the year. Numerous sellouts of the year.
Quite a few. It's a competitive category.
First that came to my mind is the Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party basically folded its operation as a political party. They transformed themselves from a legitimate third party into basically a Republican PAC, libertarian-oriented Republican PAC.
Right.
They
became the Working Families Party for Republicans.
Exactly. They're the Working Families Party for the GOP right now. They threw their nominee under the bus for a reason that is just completely ridiculous when you consider the authoritarian offenses that Donald Trump, committed in the first term surrounding COVID, oddly enough, and promises to continue and ratchet up in the second term. So between leaving Chase Oliver out to dry, saying, well, so many people in our party just couldn't vote for you because you wore a mask to Thanksgiving 4 years ago. But we're going to get behind the guy who touted Operation Warp Speed at every angle and who presided over these authoritarian mandates and lockdowns that you hate so much. This is clearly jockeying for power, clearly jockeying for position. It's clearly a clout chase. And for that, they are one of a few sellouts of the year.
Yeah, they wanted to get on the side that was winning.
Right. They wanted to be on the winning side. All right. Mike Johnson for partnering with Democrats to force Ukraine spending through. This was a big brouhaha more at the beginning of the year than in recent days. Although, if you notice, Donald Trump just endorsed Mike Johnson for Speaker of the House, despite these betrayals. Marjorie Taylor Greene called Mike Johnson a sellout at the time, but Donald Trump and Elon Musk, actually, news this week, have just endorsed him for speakership, despite the party base not wanting to. And so he is one of the many sellouts of the year as well. And I know we're jumping the order a little bit here, but since Donald Trump endorsed Mike Johnson recently, I think we should get to Donald Trump as a sellout of the year as well. He's a winner in multiple categories this year.
Okay, so the most recent example is his flip-flop on H-1B visas, which he had formally condemned as being unfair to American workers. Now he backs Elon on that. But really, the sellout started long before that, because I'm pretty sure Make America Great is not pronounced Make Israel Great. But not only did he sell out the country to Israel, but he bragged about how fast he was able to get it done.
I mentioned 4 or 5 of the things, those each individual thing. Oh, her husband would drive me crazy. You have to do this. You have to do that. You don't know what I had to put up with. She was like the calming influence. I said, Sheldon, I can't do that. It's too much. He said, no. And every time I got something, he'd immediately start with something else, right? He'd get something, always fighting for Israel and the Jewish people. But, I had such great respect for him. It's true, though. She had to sometimes tell him, calm down. You just had a big victory. Let's celebrate. No, we have to immediately start. Let's see if we can do Golan Heights. How about Golan Heights? They've been trying to get it for 72 years. I got it done in about 15 minutes, okay? Even Sheldon couldn't believe that one, I'll tell you. Even Sheldon couldn't believe that one. He said, we just got Golan Heights. They didn't even ask for it. I actually gave you that one. You didn't ask for it, but I thought it was
Okay. All right. So, hey, maybe I'm a little fucked up. When I hear Make America Great Again, I don't think of Israel. I think of America. So here you've got Donald Trump in this grotesque display talking about how he would get things done for Sheldon Adelson and it wouldn't be enough for him. And he would immediately ratchet the pressure and the wife would have to calm him down. Now, again, maybe I'm a little fucked up. A lot of people seem to see Trump as an alpha male. That's very beta male to me, right? Oh, I mean, what? And he's bragging about it. How he would pressure him, and Miriam would have to say, calm down, Sheldon, calm down, Sheldon. And then he brags, I got him the goal. I threw in the Golan Heights for free.
Yeah.
For free. Got it done in 15 minutes. So if that's not, he didn't just sell out his base, he sold out the country. Anyone who says Trump is America first, I don't know what you're talking about. You watch that video, he's Israel first. He sold out the country. He's a sellout.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where I would put, a little asterisk next to it, only in the sense that there's a big question as to whether or not he had any core convictions to begin with. Okay, but he's in a position to rep the people who put him in power, and instead he sold them out. So that's why I would still say he's a sellout, despite the fact that he was not necessarily formerly a man of principle. But someone who was formerly a man of principle, a way back, and I mean a way back, was Van Jones. And this is why I think Van Jones, and now appeared at the Israel March last year, but man, has he had every opportunity sold out. He has taken the money. You talk about a guy who's taken the money. There are clips of Van Jones was exiled from the Obama administration because of his opinions about 9/11 truth. Think about that.
Yeah.
He was kicked out of the Obama administration because he was a 9/11 dissident. How do you go from being a 9/11 dissident to appearing at the Israel March and then for a year smearing pro-Palestine protesters as thugs and fascists and bigots? You take the money. You take the money. And boy, that's sellout. Is that a word that applies to him?
I mean, Van Jones, Al Sharpton is kind of in a different lane, but it's the same thing. These power structures that want to be able to justify racism, that want to justify colonialism, that want to justify a rapacious economic system. They need people like Van Jones and Al Sharpton to come on and give a veneer of respectability and liberalism to their essentially right-wing fascist project. And Van Jones is really paid to just put on these performances where he weeps tears for Joe Biden, who locked up 2 generations of black and brown men, who opened his 2020 campaign bragging about his harmonious ability to work with segregationists. And then he went on to brag about the fact that they didn't call him boy, which clearly, why would they, right? They didn't call me boy, right? So I was able to work with them. And crying about how much he loves Joe Biden. I mean, that is really, there are a lot of whores in media and politics, but Van Jones has one big gaping ass. That guy is the whore to end all whores. I can always see on Keaton when he's registering what he has to cut from the clip. He's like, yeah, I got to go back and take that out.
Peace, guy. I pray for peace. No more rockets from Gaza and no more bombs falling down on the people of Gaza. God protect the children. God protect children. Let's end all the horror and all the heartbreak in the Holy Land. Let's end all of it. Let's end all of it.
Boo!
Oh, yeah, they start chanting no ceasefire.
Yeah, they boo him.
When I think about what's happening over there, I don't feel powerful.
They're chanting no
to
ceasefire.
Do something about
no
what's happening
ceasefire.
Over there. What I do feel powerful is to
No
maybe
ceasefire.
do something about what's happening here. Let's take a stand here against anti-Jewish bigotry. Let's take a stand against Muslim. Let's take a stand here
Freudian slip.
against hatred. Let's take a stand here against hatred of all kinds. I don't want.
What a fucking disgrace, man. Wow. Is it,
Yep.
like how much? I'm sorry, man. How much money do you need? How much do you need? Like, doesn't he have investments? He hasn't bought any property. Like, you really need to degrade yourself like this for what?
Yeah, no, it's horrible. Especially now. I mean, now you don't need a CNN job. I mean, you could probably, a lot of these guys who come from corporate media and they open up their own shop, they end up doing better as independents than they did in corporate media. So you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. It's the easy way out, I guess. It's the easy way out, I guess, and he took it. So Van Jones, one of the sellouts of the year, but we have to give the top spot here to the uncommitted movement. And I know that may sound a little harsh to people, but you talk about a head fake. Talk about presenting yourself as being principled and ready to throw down for Gaza, throw down for Palestine, only to end up recording ads in the home stretch of the campaign that say, well, we're not quite endorsing Kamala Harris. We can't do that. But we're telling you to vote against Donald Trump and not to vote for a third party. Come on, you don't even have the guts to own it. You don't even have the guts to own what a sellout you are.
Well, and after we saw this, when we did our original segment, we said, it looks like they're taking money. Somebody's paying them. This whole ad doesn't make any sense. And then a content creator came out. I can't remember her name. Apparently, she's pretty well known. And she said, yeah, I just want people to know that the DNC is approaching people. They offered to pay me $15,000 to do a video about Project 2025. And that's exactly what they do here. All right, so let's take a look.
Clever Project 2025 did was put forth an objectively insane document that is so extensive it's hard to actually conceptualize individual parts, effectively saturating a very real threat. So today, I wanted to talk about the specific ways Trump and Project 2025 would be disastrous for Palestinian human rights. As a Palestinian American, the current administration's handling of this genocide has been beyond enraging and demoralizing. But the reality is that it can get worse. Nobody wants a Trump presidency more than Netanyahu, because that is his ticket to wiping Palestine off the map. Under Trump, U.S. foreign policy took a sharp turn that prioritized Israel's hardline right-wing agenda. During his administration, Trump moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, and proposed a Middle East plan that effectively dismantled any pathway to Palestinian self-determination. But what
Yeah, I mean, all that's true as far as it goes, but the ad seemed weird from the beginning. Because why would they be picking up this very Democrat talking point about Project 2025?
Right.
Even if you wanted to make a statement that you don't like Donald Trump, why would you do that? It was such a DNC talking point. And yeah, it's pretty well confirmed they were getting paid to do that.
Yeah, later came out that they were on the take, that they received money from the Democratic Party. And so if that's not a sellout move, what possibly could be? Especially since your other contingent, which ended up morphing into abandon Biden and later abandon Harris, they stuck it out. Yeah. And you guys took the bag of cash. You guys took the bag. And just the display at the convention of writing a speech to endorse Kamala, being told, no, you can't give the speech. You go outside the convention hall, you stage this sit-in where you're moping and crying, and then you go and cut that ad anyway? Yeah. That's a sellout. That's a sellout move, if ever there was one. So they earned it this year, sellouts of the year, the uncommitted movement. Furrows Queen says Diddy's party planner can't even stay awake. Oh, that was you past 4 a.m. Sorry about that. Would you fall asleep at your computer? I like to watch people mowing their lawns and trimming trees and stuff. Very therapeutic. Also pressure washing driveways. Yeah, so we had Diddy's party planner call in to our patron show last night, but they never answered when we admitted you, and that was Furrows Queen. All right, well, clever name, Furrows Queen. And thank you for checking in today, and Happy New Year. It's getting late over there. Ahmed Bouzid, thanks for the $50. Happy New Year, and thank you for what you do. Your show is one of a kind. Thank you so much. Cowbell for Ahmed Bouzid. Based, honest, earnest, always learning. Here's to you going to the next level in 2025. Well, thank you very much. It's very kind of you, my friend. Appreciate that very much.
See, that's where you really see that Piers Morgan is just doing tabloid TV. You do this for a job. I mean, you read things constantly. You learn things constantly. You talk to interesting, intelligent people constantly. Your views evolve. Right. If your views don't evolve, it's because you're not in it for that.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely well said. Have you fellas tried to get Caitlin Johnson on the program? While you're at it, I love a DD conversation with Justine Bateman. Also, hard gaze night. Thank you, Hillary Hinton.
So I'm considering, because we're doing another guest stint on Jimmy, I'm considering trying to get her on there.
Yeah, she doesn't do many.
She doesn't do a lot. She made the rounds a little bit because she got so much attention after the election. So we'll try. I think we're too small to get her, but with the JD platform, we might be able to. Usually when we're over there, we try to get guests that we can't get.
Right, exactly. We try to punch above our weight a little bit.
Yeah.
Nocturnal Human. So you're neither for nor against Daryl Cooper. Thank you, Nocturnal Human. Appreciate that. It's a longtime fan there. John M. in Minnesota. Right on, Friedman. The hack of the year should be named the Friedman Award. There you go. Yeah, it's the Friedman Award in hackery. Thank you, John M. Appreciate that. Okay. Let's go to Marilyn Ray. Thanks for the $25. Happy New Year to you both, and happy birthday to Giovanni Polidori, a huge fan. Thank you, Marilyn Ray. Appreciate that very much. Michael Castillo, thanks for the $10, says Barack Obama is the ultimate sellout. He gave the white no state that is Israel $34 billion on his way out of the White House. Thank you, Michael Castillo. I had to read that carefully because it was all one word. I couldn't see what you were saying. Nick Wesley, that's a funny one. I like that one. Nick Wesley, thanks to the 199, says Cornel West should have an honorable mention for doing nothing.
Yeah, you know what, man? See, this is a lesson for you in journalism. Never assume, or you make an ass of you and me. Jordan was obviously personally so friendly with Cornel West, and he had him on so much. I assumed that he had endorsed him, but I didn't know that for a fact. I said that in a question. He came back. He was like, for the record, I voted for Jill Stein. I was like,
yes.
oh,
Yes, he
all
broke
right.
that news for us.
I did not know that because I never saw him really focus on her during the campaign, but I wasn't watching him like a hawk.
Right. All right. Hey, Jake, can we throw up our patron scroll, please? So if you like what we do and you want to help us do more of it, you can become a member. That'd be a nice thing to do to close out the year, a nice New Year's resolution. Become a Do Dissidents member. Patreon.com/Do Dissidents. DoDissidents.substack.com, or you can join our locals. That's the best way. We're pushing the locals pretty hard because they are associated with Rumble. They're a free speech, member-driven platform. So if you're watching on Rumble right now, which 1,100 of you are, you can hit that bright red join button underneath the video player, and that takes you to our locals. You get your name up in lights on the show scroll. You also get call-in access to our post-show Q&As, which are every Sunday night. You also get access to special supporter streams, including our movie club streams, where we do interactive screenings of politically relevant films. We also do a special supporter stream, a more straightforward show once a month, where we do content just like we do now and take calls afterwards. And you also get access to our occasional special live events like Russell's Walking Tours, our arts festival, which we're going to do next year. We did a couple of live theater shows in New York City this past year, which were streamed for members. So you get a whole lot for a whole little. It's only $5
I will be
a month.
doing my Irish Mob tour in March.
Yep, so that'll be streamed for patrons as well. So you get a whole lot for a whole little. It's just $5 a month, and you are the backbone of the show, those who have signed up. We could not do this show without our members. It would not be possible. So if you want to help us really catapult into 2025, you can become a member for just $5 a month at dodissidents.locals.com. That's if you're watching on YouTube, you got to use the link. If you're watching on Rumble, it's super simple. There's a bright red button right underneath us right now that says join. Click that, takes you to sign up, and boom, you can get squared away in just a minute. You also get live stream access to our full-length pre-recorded interviews. So we did about an hour interview with Jordan Sheridan yesterday that was live streamed for members. It's available to watch if you become a member now. Everybody else got to wait till tomorrow. So if you want to get early access and live access to pre-recorded interviews, becoming a member is a perk as well. So it's really quite a lot of perks. And so we hope you can do it. DoDissidents.locals.com. It helps us tremendously. Alrighty. And Jake, we're gonna plug the fundraiser in the next couple segments here as well, because we got some special projects that we got in the works for 2025 as well. All right, what do we got here? Sparky, thanks for the $2. Speaker Mike Johnson is a Rube's Rube. Thank you, Sparky. Appreciate that very, very much. Okay, where are we at right now? What's next? All right, so now we're gonna highlight some achievements in propaganda. The best propaganda of 2024. We're going to start out with the infamous trans ad from the Trump campaign. This was the ad that they spent a lot of money on and ran a lot of times. They spent so much money on this ad and aired it so many times. We even got this ad in New York State, where we hardly get any presidential election ads because it's not a swing state. But we even saw this one up here. So do we want to hit that?
The ad that talked 1,000 cocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Murdered a father of 3, sentenced to life in prison. Kamala Harris pushed to use tax dollars to pay for his sex change.
I made sure that they changed the policy so that every transgender inmate would have access.
It sounds insane because it is insane. Kamala was the first to help pay for a prisoner's sex change.
The power that I had, I used it in a way that was about pushing for the movement, frankly, and the agenda.
Kamala's agenda is they, them, not you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
So there you go.
Love it.
And there were a few different versions of that one. One of them was a little lighter in tone. There were a few different versions of that ad. But the gender reassignment surgery for prisoners, specifically immigrant prisoners, which is one of them that they ran, that really hit on,
that was
like
really
he said,
the hat trick.
Yeah, he said in the debate, she wants to do transgender surgeries on illegal immigrants that are in prison. And we laughed at the time because it was hilarious, especially the way he said it that was a hilarious line. One of the funniest lines, probably the funniest line in presidential debate history. But yeah, it hit on everything at once. It hit on the trans issue itself. It hit on economic grievance because it's a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
And it hit on the immigration issue. So it was all three at once. Boom, boom, boom. And so that proved to be a very, very effective ad down the stretch of the campaign.
You know what? I must say, and I think this partly affected my assessment of the election, the way that DeSantis performed really made me say, maybe this culture stuff, maybe I'm wrong about it, man. Maybe it's not as potent and the midterms. I said,
Right.
well, maybe it's not. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not 20, maybe I think it's more potent than it is. I think it depends on the messenger, and I think the problem with DeSantis is it was his only message.
Right.
It's not that those messages don't resonate, but it has to be part of a bigger package.
Right. That's the side of fries. That's not the burger.
That's it. And with DeSantis, it was just that.
It was just
That's all he
that.
ran on. We're gonna fight the woke on the beaches. It's not
Exactly.
enough. It's not enough.
All right. So the second.
Hang on. This isn't plugged in properly.
Oh, all right.
All right. That's all it took.
All right, so the second piece is a piece that is going to be a little controversial, but it's a piece from the Des Moines Register, the Iowa poll. Harris now leads Trump. Russell wanted this included, partly because it affected our prediction of the race. Now, I did not think that Kamala was ever going to win Iowa, but I saw this, and I saw some of the cross-sections within the poll as being a bad sign for Trump in the run-up to the campaign. And part of why this is part of the sort of half of the polling that I bought into. Because don't forget, half of the polling said that Trump was going to win by 1 or 2 points, and half of the polling said that Kamala was going to win by 1 or 2 points. It's not like all the polls were rigged in one direction. It was pretty scattershot, and it was pretty spread out along a very narrow strip of points, hovering 50-50.
You also got to remember, look, these things are always obvious in hindsight. You got these guys running around talking about Haitians eating cats and shit. Like, it's not like they ran this brilliant campaign.
No, they ran a bad campaign.
They were running against an avatar.
Right. So part of what led me to believe in the final days, based on those turnout numbers, that she was in a stronger position than he was. Part of it is that I live in a purple suburb of Albany. And those of you who know upstate New York kind of resembles Pennsylvania more than it does a New York City suburb. It's much more Midwestern. Albany itself is a deindustrialized
Once you get an hour
river
out of
city.
New York, you're kind of getting into Midwestern culture.
Yeah, exactly. And I live in a purple suburb, which are the kind of places that swing elections.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never seen less enthusiasm for a presidential campaign than I did just driving around September, October in this suburb of mine. I could count on one hand the number of Kamala signs and bumper stickers. I could count on one hand the number of Trump signs and bumper stickers. Signaled to me zero enthusiasm, which to me signaled status quo election. Because in 2022, everywhere you went, people were screaming about inflation and how it's unlivable now, and the Democrats still won in all of the statewide races that mattered. So I figured, well, no, low enthusiasm equals status quo. And then it's a funny thing. So on election day, I drove through rural parts of the state to get to Vermont because I wanted to get some special Vermont beer for the election night live stream. And in that 20 or 30 minute stretch through the rural area, approaching the Vermont border, I saw Trump signs every 5 houses.
Right.
And I almost thought to myself, maybe he's going to get the numbers in the rural areas that he needs to put him over the top. Maybe I misjudged that. Now, of course, my predictions were already locked in. I wasn't going to be an asshole and come in and hedge, so I stuck with it. You know, you got to go down with the ship. That's YouTube, baby. Once your predictions are locked in, that's it. You can't go back. But I did notice when I got out of the suburbs and into the rural areas, it was like a Trump festival going down the road.
See, but I was hearing that from people, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, oh, really? Water's wet? Like,
Right.
that in and of itself would not have affected me. One key bit of data that I didn't have for some reason that never came to me was I did that Gen X segment after the
Right.
election. I never heard that he was leading resoundingly with Gen X women.
Right.
Because so much of what I thought was built on, you know, these bitches need their abortions.
Right.
So much with, like, if I had known like that much of women in that age range were going for Trump, I wouldn't have been so confident. But yeah, no, the Iowa poll, because it had such a track record,
right?
That seemed to kind of reconfirm that, okay, well, the Democrats are the ones who keep overperforming, not the Republicans.
Exactly.
We're in a post-Dobb world.
Right.
They're running around talking about Haitians eating cats.
Right.
Okay, so now you have this gold standard poll in Iowa that, yeah, he probably won't win the state, but it does show a momentum move in that direction, which given, and I understand if you're a fan of Donald Trump, it might be hard to see. They're both fucking repulsive.
Right.
So it's not like, well, he's great. No, I mean, for the average person, I promise you, neither one of them looks good.
Right. Neither one is popular. They
Neither
both have
one
very
is
high
popular.
negatives. Yeah.
They both have very high negatives. So so at that point, it's a race of other factors.
Right. Right. Exactly. And so that was definitely part of shifting the impression in the home stretch of the campaign. But without a doubt, no question, this was the easiest call of them all. The best propaganda of 2024 is here. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. You can't draw it up any better than that. And I'm not saying the shooting attempt was fake. I'm just saying from a PR perspective to have that shot. I mean,
you could say that is part of why he won.
Of course you could.
Even though we both felt he whiffed the speech at the convention where he should have been capitalizing on this. Instead, it was this just weird rambling thing that was just hard to even get through. Nonetheless, that image, man, because who really watches those things anyway? What does it really matter?
Right.
But how many people saw that image?
Oh, yeah, no, it's being printed on shirts and sweatshirts in shopping malls now. I mean, it's not just, you don't have to go to a Trump rally to get this. This got so far and wide, and you just couldn't ask for a better photo than that.
Right.
You couldn't stage it any better than that. I'm not saying they did stage it, but I'm saying you couldn't stage it that better than that if you wanted.
In terms of the craft of photography. That is like that is the lines, the way the lines point to Trump and the way the flag is oriented.
Yep.
Like if you were directing that scene, you might arrange that shot that way for artful purposes. It's like a perfect shot.
Yeah, people will be talking about this photo for decades to come. That is an all-timer in terms of a photograph and the fact that it happened at this turning point of the campaign. That's the best propaganda of the year. There's no doubt about that. That was probably the easiest of all of the decisions we made going into this show, I would say. All right, let's go to, what do we got here? Sorry, Jake, I'm skipping that. Okay, there we go. Ellen Jimerson, remembering Leanna and Tad on the night we tend to drink to excess. Yes, please, if there is no shame in saying no to alcohol, and if you do drink, no shame in calling a taxi. Have fun. That's right. Be safe, be responsible out there. Thank you, Ellen, for that reminder. And we'll keep them in our thoughts always. But yes, be safe out there tonight if you are going out. See, I don't even think in terms of that because I don't go anywhere anymore. Like I forget about driving drunk. I barely drive anymore. I don't go anywhere past that time in the night. But yes.
And if you are going to drink, definitely stay away from Vindaloo.
Yeah, right.
That's my advice.
Yes. Don't mix. Judy Denmark, thanks for the $50. Let's have a cowbell for Judy Denmark. Your Thomas Friedman reading is worth more than $50. I'm putting you in my will. Happy New Year, my friends. Thank you very much for that. Glad you enjoyed it. Nujoma says, I missed that segment. Hilarious. Did Jimmy also enjoy it? Still in tears laughing. Yeah, that was a great one.
To him about that?
I don't know if we ever talked about that one, but yeah, I mean
that killed me, man. That was definitely the most fun I had hosting the show, and I think it was the funniest segment we did this year.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Jeff Hughes says, Amy Goodman to Matt Taibbi to Jimmy, home at last. Thank you, Jeff Hughes. Brad Gilbert, you left out biggest cuck of all time, Trump. There you go. Thank you, Brad Gilbert.
I mean, that was kind of in the sellout.
Yeah, in the sellout category. That's right. AK, the divide between how Muslims, example Iran, view events in Syria and pro-Palestine people abroad is telling. This includes Gray Zone's Candace Owen basically taking the same view. Syria is not Libya or Iraq. Well, look, there are a lot of Muslims who wanted regime change in Syria. A lot of people, one of the things that Max tweeted out about that, which I thought was very smart and something I didn't think of, he has a lot more knowledge than me about this, is that when Mehdi Hassan had Jill Stein on and he tried to really pin her down on, is Assad a war criminal, he was trying to basically fracture her Muslim support because he knew that a lot of Muslims and Arabs supported Jill Stein.
Right.
And he knows that there were a lot of Muslims who would be inclined to support Jill Stein, but who are also anti-Assad. And so he figured, well, if I could turn them on her using this issue, then that's something that's worth a shot. So, yeah.
We had a viewer in the Middle East send us an email, and I asked for clarification, and I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was valid. He said, hey, to us here in the Middle East, when we see Western podcasters and commentators celebrating Iran or celebrating Assad, you look like dilettantes. Like these are our monsters. Well, not he's making a general point. No, he wasn't coming at us.
But even like Mate says, I know Syrian dissidents who protested the Assad government.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't think there's any
speaking
of that.
Yeah, he's speaking generally.
Yeah.
But in terms of what he's saying, he's like, and come on, man. I mean, we've all seen that. That there are many commentators who don't know how to walk that line or negotiate those contradictions. And he said, these are our monsters. And it doesn't mean that the West is not also our monster. But when we see Western commentators playing up these regimes as if they're good, as if they're not also abusing Arab and Muslim peoples, it's very naive.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not a question for us. It's not for us to sort out. At least not the way the United States tends to sort those out.
But the point he was making, I understand. A lot of people who are not in the situation do take it upon themselves to sort it out,
right?
And they're wrong,
right? Sure. All right, we're going to go on to worst propaganda. So these are some of the worst propaganda attempts of the year. And so the one that really just blew up in its own face is the Biden decline cover-up. The Biden decline cover-up, yes, that's right. So here's one of the many montages, the greatest hits, shall we say. We'll watch a minute or so of this.
Right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
She knows so long as she was 9.
In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been.
President Biden has a photographic memory. His understanding and mastery of a complicated geopolitical situation, remarkable.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
I was sitting, 2 feet from him across the table, and he was, intense.
Have trouble walking sometimes? Yeah, so did FDR. He wanted GD war.
He's totally focused. He's very sharp.
They say he's sharp in meetings and so on.
Very lucid, very well informed. Biden is stately, and he comes with gravitas. There hasn't been, as far as I know, a single claim that Biden made a mistake.
Ageism is an issue. Americans have a rich history of holding people's physical characteristics against them. Okay, you can ask African Americans.
He's older. That doesn't mean that he is unfit, and there's a lot of ageism there.
Now, this age attack, this
obsession by the right.
Joe Biden may not be able to speak for himself the way that he used to.
They want to think to take on government if we get out of line, which they're talking again about, and that's him lying around.
I think people should be speaking up for Joe Biden.
Americans and reporters in the media are just judging him by a physical appearance, and it's horribly unfair.
All right, that goes on for a while longer to watch all of it. You get the idea. Obviously, just backfired on them so spectacularly, perhaps more spectacularly than any propaganda effort has ever backfired on the media and the Democratic Party. Yeah, that is a strong contender. Worst propaganda of the year. One of a few picks. But
it is very funny because we showed Chris Cillizza's mea culpa, and now they're all doing it. They're all trying to save their credibility by saying, we were misled, but darn it, we should have pushed harder on the White House. But yeah, we should have seen it sooner. But hey, they were reassuring us. Well, again, that is not an excuse. It's a confession that you have no business. If you missed something that obvious and plain to see way back when he was running in 2020, and you missed it all the way up to the point that you felt this man should be running for a second term, and you were telling your readers and viewers that, yes, you have no fucking business offering political opinions on anything ever again.
Yeah, no, that was one of the biggest fails ever. And it was so obvious to most people from way before day one. Worst propaganda of the year, number 2. This is a recent one. Obviously, the Syrian prison piece that CNN ran and then had to admit that they were deceived by this Assad prisoner dressed in pristine clothes, nails trimmed perfectly, beard trimmed perfectly, a guy who is immediately getting out of a prison where he supposedly had not seen the sun for 3 months, looks directly up into the sky as soon as he gets out.
Yeah, he's not blinking, nothing.
Look at the jacket, look at the everything. I mean, this was pretty obvious. This guy ended up being an Assad henchman who they have since lost contact with. And so that was fairly obvious to most people. We won't talk about this too much since this is a fairly recent story. It's fresh in the minds of a lot of you guys, but that definitely deserves its place among the worst propaganda of the year. The cringiest propaganda of the year, which could just be, this just could be number 1 based on just how viscerally repulsive it is. Just this makes your toe curl under your foot.
It really shows you what an out of touch bubble the whole resistance lib universe is unto itself.
Yeah, so before you go on, I just want to set up what it is. So for those who can't identify it based on the screenshot, this is the Real Men for Kamala TV ad.
Yes, and it's awash in their culture, in the cultural perspective of resistance libs, and it's something that most people, anyone not in that bubble, which is a much smaller bubble than the media would lead you to believe, because it's so overrepresented in media and in academia and in Hollywood, frankly. But it's not many people who could watch this and not want to vomit. So let's take a look. It gives new meaning to the word cringe.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man, man. And I'm man enough. I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast. I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women. I'm not afraid of women. I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president? Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement. Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions. Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women. Or one of those pants books that the sisters like. I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it. I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse. I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story. That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me. I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
All right, so this was part of a whole thing they were trying to do. If you remember, when Kamala picked Waltz, they were trying to create this whole conversation around the idea of how Waltz represents a new kind of masculinity, where, you know, he's sensitive, but he's a real man, and nobody was buying it. Look, I'm sorry. Philosophically, whatever, man. Believe what you want to believe. If you think that ad doesn't play to the average person like they're a bunch of beta males and cucks, you probably shouldn't be doing political consultancy. If you thought that was going to read to people like they were going to go, that's so funny, the way these guys are, you know, backing women in their choices, but they're like, come on, man. Come on. Like, really? Really? Who watched that? And I know the kind of people who would watch this and think it's going to play. It was all one big in-joke for the liberal class, but that's the only people who that would appeal to, that would speak to.
Right, because it was clearly, I mean, to me, if you're going to put out an ad like that is so clearly a wink and a nod to your own base, which is all it was, that's the worst propaganda there is, because it has no power of actual
It
persuasion.
repulses everybody else. It's anti-propaganda.
It's so fake. I mean, it's just so clearly fake, right? And to have, you know, these rugged men talk in ways that
most of them weren't even really rugged,
right? But I mean,
like they had a couple. You had the bearded kind of biker-looking guy,
and then the big,
but then the guy with the horse. And what was that about? He's gonna fuck his horse. What was that? What was that? Okay, I'll show my feelings in front of my horse, and then they take a beat. What?
Yeah,
what are you trying to say about this guy and his horse?
Yeah, no, it was just absolutely dreadful. And, you know, that is certainly emblematic of the Harris campaign. I mean, think of all the consultants who got paid to write that ad and go and cast that ad and shoot that ad. It was a big grift. They spent $1.5 billion on a campaign that they really had no chance to win. All their internal polling showed them doing worse than a lot of the public polling did. And so that is a perfect example of just money down the drain in what is just so clearly a disingenuous scripted appeal. We know ads have scripts, right? You know that any political presentation is scripted to an extent. But when the visual is so out of sync with what you're hearing, it's just it's saying that you can be a real man and vote for Kamala Harris too. Any man who's persuadable is persuadable with a policy argument. You're not going to trick someone into falling for an obviously manufactured cultural appeal that is just so hackily written. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Anti-propaganda. It has the power of dissuading the viewer.
Well, and it's fun, you know, they make that raw dog reference. And to even get that, you have to be somebody who reads a lot of Newsweek and magazine articles and newspaper articles for that to be a joke for you.
Right.
And that's what you get with a lot of the liberal sensibility. Their humor is largely intended to signal being in the know.
Right.
That's why they're always referencing whatever the culture story is that the media is obsessed with that week. They really want to show you that they know what that is. That's why that's in there. And it's repulsive to most people.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All right, folks. So we got a few more categories, and then we're going to get into our predictions from last year and predictions for the new year. This is a short category. This is a singular award for Tweet of the Year. And You know, I thought that Vivek Ramaswamy tweet from last week said a lot about the cultural conversation that we're going to have now that half of MAGA, the tech bro wing of MAGA, has exposed itself for being not all that MAGA. But big picture, it's got to be this one. Just look at the view count, 105 million views, and that's a partial view count. That's from when this was screenshotted. We don't know when it was screenshotted. We took an old screenshot because Elon has since changed his Twitter name to some crazy shit. Nobody knows what it is. I don't even remember off the top of my head. But you are the media now. Says a lot with a little. Look at the timing of it. 1:17 a.m. November 6th. So that was election night as it became certain that Donald Trump was going to win. 105 million views. And yeah, that is the tweet of the year. That encapsulates the collapse, that demonstrates the collapse of legacy media and the rise of alternative media, social media, and platforms like ours in our lane. And so it's especially resonant as creators in this new media. But you was directed at all of you. X is now where, more people get their news on X than anywhere else right now. And so
is that true?
That sums it up. Yeah. It's not a majority, but it's a plurality.
It's a plurality. You know, it was fun. Okay, so this was the libbiest thing anyone said to me at Christmas. Go on Blue Sky. And I said why? And they took my why not as I'm curious what they thought, as so much as I didn't know about it, like I wasn't in the know. And they said, because everyone's leaving X. Everyone's going to Blue Sky now.
Right.
Who's everybody?
Right, yeah.
People you know.
Right, exactly.
No, nobody's leaving X. But yes, this was the tweet of the year. We went back and forth about it a little bit. Ideally, you want something that really captured the zeitgeist or even moved the zeitgeist. That captures the zeitgeist better than any tweet of the last year that I could think of. Yes, we're the media now. We brought this up with Jimmy. What responsibilities come with that? In some ways, it does feel like being the dog that caught the car. Okay, so we're the media now. We're not the outsiders. We're the insiders. We're the outsiders in a sense. But we have viewership. The biggest of our channels have viewership that far exceed CNN and MSNBC. Right. So, okay, well, what responsibilities come with that? This was inevitable, and it's been a trend for a long time that this kind of open network, openly distributed conversation was going to become the new model of media. And this was the tipping point, really. Everything they threw at Donald Trump couldn't stop him. Everything they did to try to prop up Kamala Harris could not make her the president. They could not. And in the end, going on Joe Rogan, going on Theo Von, that did a lot more for Donald Trump than whatever scripted and heavily redacted interviews Kamala actually agreed to go on. Now, do remember, Kamala was an exceptionally and historically piss-poor candidate. And if you had somebody who was less underqualified to be running under other circumstances, it could be a different story. But nonetheless, that may have just delayed the obvious for an election cycle or two. The media's been moving this way for a while. As we'll get into with my predictions, I think the next domino to fall is the entertainment industry. I think as the technology, largely driven by AI, is put into people's hands to really do content creation at a level that looks less and less cheap when compared to Hollywood, when it looks more and more like Hollywood quality, well, what are people going to have to watch a Hollywood movie for? What's the purpose of it going to be?
Yeah. Yeah. And this was the year where the alternative media once again sort of punctured the electoral politics space in a way that it hadn't necessarily since 2016, I always credit, InfoWars and Alex Jones with being a major factor in Trump's 2016 victory, because he had this huge audience for a long time, and he never really engaged with electoral politics because his views were just outside the realm where they matched neatly into like a Mitt Romney. Like Alex Jones is not going to advocate for Mitt Romney, right? But in 2016, he was on YouTube and he got tons of views. And for the first time, he funneled his audience into the Trump campaign. Right. Similar thing happened this time, where you had a lot of platforms, a lot of audiences, not necessarily go all in for Trump, although Rogan did endorse him in the 11th hour. But yeah, Theo Vaughn, what's the other one? The Andrew Schultz, I forget what the name of his show is, but it's a big show, right? He was able to puncture that space in a way that he didn't in 2020 because of, partly because of circumstances, partly because of just what a miserable campaign he ran. Right. But this time he did it. And the Democrats are the least equipped to do this because they're the party, their voter base still disproportionately invests in mainstream media. That's why Bernie lost in 2020, because when Anderson Cooper shivved him on 60 Minutes with the Fidel Castro question, the Democratic electorate is the electorate who watches that and thinks, oh, no, Anderson Cooper thought that was a terrible answer, and now Morning Joe's attacking him. Like, it actually means something to them when these idiots talk, whereas most of the country does not absorb news that way. They didn't absorb news that way back then. This time, Trump was able to really tap into that as part of his electoral strategy and influence politics in a very, very profound way. Much like some of the creators in this space did in 2016. We're 8 years out from that. Mainstream media, I should say legacy media, is even smaller. New media is even larger. So the impact that the alternative media had on this election was exponentially larger than even in 2016, which informs, yes, you are the media now, says it all.
Well, this is one of the strongest parallels I see in terms of cultural phenomena between Reagan and Trump. Reagan, again, was a very unlikely figure to change politics in that way, being the oldest president ever elected at that time.
Right.
But similar to Trump, he had a special understanding of how the media landscape worked because he came out of entertainment. He was an actor. He was the first person to really understand doing these very elevated school of rhetoric kind of speeches. Yeah, no, don't do that. Play the presidency the way they would in a movie. Reference pop culture. Nobody had done that before Reagan. To be referencing, yes, we can see the hope in the songs of a young man named Bruce Springsteen. Nobody did that shit. It wasn't. Now we take that for granted, but that was a very big change in the rhetoric that that would have been considered beneath a president to reference things like that. You still had that divide until Reagan. Reagan really laid the groundwork for what Trump is now. Trump, because he came out of reality TV and just being a natural troll, in spite of his advanced age, he really mastered Twitter in a way that most politicians had not caught on to, certainly in 2016. And as a result, he shifted the whole cultural landscape in a very similar way, in the way that he's changing where the center of the media gravity is and what's appropriate for a political figure to express and how it's appropriate for them to conduct themselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, candidates who have tapped into new media and really harnessed new media and clicked with new media have always not only done well in terms of getting elected, they've tend to be some of the most iconic figures of their time. FDR mastered the radio. JFK mastered television. Barack Obama mastered the internet, right? Donald Trump mastered social media, right? And so those are not just four presidents. Those are four pretty iconic American figures, right? There's no, all due respect to the man, just passed away, there's no Carter in there. right?
No.
That there's no
No.
James K. Polk in there, right?
Yeah.
You remember those people because they harness new media. They really connected with
Right.
the trends that new media brought into the culture. All right, Bradley, thanks for the $10. You guys see any movie theater masterpieces this year? Good year for movies despite the numbers. I watched 3 masters this year. Keep loving, learning, laughing. Stay true, and we'll win this war together. Thank you, Bradley. The only movie I saw was the Civil War movie, which I loved. I loved the Civil War, actually. Its politics were, like, vaguely libby, but I loved it anyway. I thought it was super well done.
Yeah, like we would do movies of the year, but we're so fucking busy. We just don't see enough to do a fair list.
Exactly. Like, I really want to see Longlegs. I really want to see the Nosferatu remake, and I would like to see the Bob Dylan movie. I think that would just be fun for me. Yeah. And there's a couple other things. I want to see the new Alien movie. That's streaming now, and Gladiator was part of my adolescence. I was 13 when it came out. I was the exact right age to love that movie when it came out. So
and you're not obsessed with Roman history?
For shit's sake, weird. I'll see Gladiator 2 since that's streaming now. I'm sure that's fun. I like movies where animals kill people.
It's supposedly
I like the
terrible.
creature feature. That's one of my favorite genres. So I like they got a big rhinoceros in that movie. That looks cool.
It's supposedly very bad.
I heard it's okay. It got mediocre reviews. It's like a lot of Ridley Scott's historical films. They're like campy and ahistorical, but they're
past
fun.
his prime. He's past his prime.
He's
seen
what
better
movie did
days.
he make?
Blade Runner.
Well, I know he made Blade. I'm saying what recent movie did he make that was pretty damn good? I forget. It must not have been that good because I forget what it was.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you for that, Bradley.
Somebody
Rich.
here says the Dylan movie sucks balls.
Oh yeah. My friend Justin liked it, but he's a big Dylan fan, so he would have liked it no matter what. I can't really take his opinion that seriously. No disrespect to him, but he's too much of a fanboy. He couldn't view that objectively. Rich, thanks for the $20. Prayers and hope for the innocent and struggling people everywhere. I love you and care about you so much. You are always on my mind. Thank you, Rich. That's a very lovely super chat. And Marianne Cummings, thanks for the $10, says, I remember when the Des Moines Register refused to release their poll right before the 2020 caucuses. Yes, that showed Sanders with a clear lead. They weren't above political fuckery. That's right. That was the Pete Buttigieg campaign that spiked that one. Yes, thank you. Good call on that. Landrew, thanks for the $100. Let's get Landrew his sound drop. Thank you. They're very generous of you, my friend. Happy New Year to you all. Thank you for reporting the truth at a time truth is rare in media. Free Palestine. Shout out to Marianne. There you go. Look at that community.
I am Landrew.
Landrew is dead.
Thank you very much, Landrew. Appreciate that so much. Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Hey Landrew, you hear they removed Discovery from canon? That's when you know your show sucked. When they decide to pretend it never happened.
I don't know what the hell that means. Michael Castillo says, I know, he'll know. I meant white ethno state in my last super chat. Got it. Russell, it looks like I'll be making plans for your Totally Bitchin' Mob Tour in March. I'm so excited. My mind is now blown and my brains are now all over the place. Thank you, Michael Castillo. Appreciate that very much. Oh, Jimmy
cool.
Doris here. Thanks for the $4.99. Says, yes, love the Friedman reading. Oh, there you go. Nice. Yeah, that was a blast. That was some of the most fun we had on the air this year.
That was a lot of fun.
Thank you for that. Sparky, thanks for the $5. The Kamala ad features effeminate men dressed up in what left imagines are rugged man Halloween costumes. Yeah, I mean, that was some Democrat shit there. Out on R says, I used to give Constantine hella money, and now I'm mad embarrassed about it. Always appreciate the shows, says Anna Diane. Well, now you can give us the money. Thank you.
Yeah, give it to us.
Thanks for the $20. It's very kind of you. Always appreciate the shows. I'm too busy to keep up with the warp speed. Yeah, we've been busy. Busy bees, for sure. Okay, let's move on here. Still got plenty more show to do. All right, folks, now we get into the nitty-gritty. Now we get into the worst people of the year, the villains of the year, the a-holes of the year, since we're in the first 15 seconds of this clip. So let's scrape the bottom of the barrel. Yeah, obviously, this was a pretty easy one here. Joe and Mika for the vicious and aggressive and hostile and angry and mean and nasty gaslighting of the audience to convince them that Joe Biden was good to go, only to end up at Mar-a-Lago before year's end, bending the knee, kissing Donald Trump's ring. Yeah, pretty obvious their place on this list.
Okay, so we're going to play the classic. And Never again.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And you...
We should
Wasn't
start
the
every
truth,
segment
I
like
wouldn't
that.
say it.
We should start every segment like that. All right, well, I'm going to tell you something now, and fuck you if you
Fuck
don't
you if you don't
like
like
it.
it.
Fuck you if you can't understand it. Yep. Joe and Mika, pretty self-explanatory, but let's get into some maybe forgotten choices. This is Manoush Shafiq, president of Columbia University, who sicked the NYPD on the student protesters.
And still got fired.
And still got fired anyway. She debased herself in Congress. Remember when the Christian right lunatic says, "You don't want Columbia to go to hell, do you?" Or something like that.
No. You don't want to be damned by the God of the Bible. He clarifies that God, not the Hindu God, not the Buddhist God, the God of the Bible. That's you. No, I certainly don't want that.
Don't want to be damned by the hell of the Bible, damned by the God of the Bible. Yeah, they got rid of her anyway. After what I believe was a record deployment of the NYPD. I don't think there have been that many NYPD officers deployed to any event in modern history as the Columbia encampment.
I was literally flying back from doing Jimmy in L.A. when they were clearing the Columbia campus. I was watching it live on CNN as the plane was coming into New York.
Yep. So she's earned her spot on the list. This is kind of a funny one. I mean, we have no real dog in this fight, but the South Koreans do. This is former South Korean president now, Yoon Suk-yeol, who just that one day, a couple months ago, decided he was going to declare martial law. And he did. And then it was nullified later that day, and he is now on his way out. So that was one of the funnier, more random, quirky stories of the year. Yeah, just kind of out of nowhere impromptu declaration of martial law. So he's earned his place on this list. How could we forget Morlock? Count Morlock.
Count Morlock.
Yes. Matthew Miller, bitter about being looked over for the Nosferatu remake. Maybe that's why he was so angry.
I understand he turned it down. He was under contract with the State Department.
Yeah, exactly. How many segments have we done about this guy this year? I mean, how heartless, how soulless do you have to be to just stare down those reporters and, chide the ICC, deny these UN reports? I mean, he is, you talk about the banality of evil, that's Matthew Miller. That's Matthew Miller. Yes. And he has given us many a moment this year.
He would make a very good, reasonable commandant at a concentration camp.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Look, hey, we need to get these bombs made. And, and we're doing what we have to do. And at the same time, we are feeding the prisoners. We are giving them beds. What would they be doing out there on their own? What would they do for work? We're giving them jobs.
What do you say about this guy? Too many videos to count. Too many moments to count from Michael Rappaport. Pretty obvious pick for asshole of the year among many. I don't know if you uploaded the video for him yet. Or if you have to do that.
Yeah. Hang on. I missed that one. I will grab it. This was I thought the absolute worst, and it did make the rounds because it stood out for its just incredible overt statement of Zionist supremacy.
The Jewish people, we are the chosen people. The Jews are the chosen people, and it is so apparent when you're in Israel, the Jewish land, and you're with the Jewish people of Israel, how magical we are. That's biblical shit.
Okay, I'm sure when you're in Rome, the Italians look pretty magical too. Like, yeah, if you're strolling around a city that, is meant to glorify the culture of the people who built the city, yeah, all right, yeah, sure, yeah. What a fucking imbecile.
Okay? That's biblical. You can't debate any of that. I want to make sure everybody knows that the Jews are the chosen people. And that's no disrespect to anything or anybody else. But the Jews are the chosen people, and Israel is ancient Judean Jewish land.
Listen, no disrespect to any of you other guys, but we're the best.
We're the best.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Michael Rappaport is really anti-Semitism typhoid Mary. I see a video like this. It's like a bomb of anti-Semitism went off in the world. It is. I was talking about this with an actual Israeli the other day. This is the most dangerous thing for Jewish people existing in the world today is the state of Israel and people like Michael Rappaport saying things like this. Every day Michael Rappaport is running around making videos like this is a great day for anti-Semites. Every day that Israel is dropping 2,000-pound bombs on women and children is a great day for anti-Semites. And among fanatical Zionists like this, like Michael Rappaport, you'll see this with fanatics in any sphere. They're losers. They're losers. They're people who don't have enough confidence in themselves, don't have enough gifts of their own to be able to promote themselves on their own merits. So they glom onto some kind of cause or idea that they see as bigger than themselves, and they become cheerleaders for it. That's what this fucking loser is. Disgusting.
Yeah. Well, he was not only that, he was the face of one of the faces of resistance liberalism up until this year when he turned on the Democrats for apparently not being pro-Israel enough. And, the point that Max Blumenthal made when we talked to him, and we were, three Jewish guys sitting there talking about this, and as Jewish guys ourselves, Russell and I like to make this point. We feel we have a certain responsibility to make this point, that Israel seeks to make Jews afraid of the rest of the world. That's what undergirds the whole premise of their state, that they are a necessity, right? The more dangerous the world is for Jewish people outside of Israel, the more they feel they need to rally behind Israel. And so, it is in the interest of Israelis and Zionists to stoke anti-Semitism, and that's exactly what he does. Now, I don't know if this guy's smart enough to play that kind of chess. He's just a real pig-headed asshole.
A fucking baboon.
Right. Yeah. But that is the effect that he has. And so obviously strong candidate for worst of the year. Now here's a guy whose name I can never get right.
Yohei Sponder.
Yeah. So this is one of the Israeli comics who's been going viral this year that you may not have seen.
All right. So Australia's been kind of based about stopping people like this from getting in front of audiences or coming into their country. So him and another Israeli comic who I assume has a similar kind of an act were supposed to perform in Australia in March, and the theater chain that had them booked canceled their performances. Now, I'm not big on censorship, and I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, but if you were going to have any kind of standard for genocide humor is not acceptable, I don't want that in my venue. I mean, you could say they have a right. Like Australia didn't ban them from doing the show. The theater chain said, well, we don't really want to platform that. If I owned a venue and this guy wanted to come in, would I let him go on? Probably not. This is literally...
Well, of course not. I mean, that's not censorship. You have a certain editorial... bent, have it like this guy played at he played at City Winery.
He played at City Winery. Yeah. He just did what looks like a very successful US tour. His act, this is what stand-up comedy would look like if the Nazis had won the war.
Right. I interviewed the guy who owns City Winery. I didn't interview him. I filmed an interview of him. I worked on a video project. Seemed like a nice enough guy. Do I think less of him that he booked this guy? Of course I do. Of course, why wouldn't I? Right. So if I were him, I'm perfectly within my rights to say, like, hey, if I put you at my venue and you make genocide jokes, that's going to reflect on me and my venue. Like, to me, that's not censorship.
He is literally doing an act built around racism, Jewish supremacy, and genocide, right, as you will see in this clip. So this is somebody on our list you probably never heard of. but I because Facebook in their wisdom started pushing him on me, I started looking into him. Yeah, he's got a pretty successful stand-up career going around and doing genocide comedy for Zionists. So let's take a look.
Everyone blames us for genocide. And we're not. We know we're not. And I'm thinking about it. I had a girlfriend that she always blamed me that I'm cheating on her. And in one point I said, listen, I can't be blamed for something that I didn't do. I need to someone just for, What I'm trying to say, guys, stop pushing it. We have the tools for genocide. We have. Don't want to do it? I don't think Israelis per se can do genocide just because we're very bad with trains. We have Duxes. Very bad. Look, the train to Jerusalem, 15 years. Come on. We're going to have Palestinians like, kill us already! Kill us! How long to wait?
That's his act. That's his act, folks. So I think he earned a place as one of the assholes of the year, and that's typical of all his material.
And Exhibit 5,000 of our thesis to prove our thesis: Zionist Israelis are not funny.
Yes.
Yep. The only unfunny Jews out there. All right. Well, the worst of the year, the returning champion, Benjamin Netanyahu, of course.
Can't top that.
Can't top that. Not even a bad comic, not even Michael Rappaport can top that. That essentially explains itself, and that rounds out our list of worst of 2024. All right. Jake, can we hit our Give, Send, Go, please? We got to raise some money for 2025. So we're trying to book our travel, folks, to get to Seattle and Washington, D.C., we are making those trips happen. So if you go to givesendgo.com/do dissidents, you can hit us up there. We got to hit that goal of $10,000 to get to DC for the inauguration, Seattle for Workers Strike Back, and St. Louis for our documentary, which has now been formally green-lit by the African People's Socialist Party itself. I got the official email with the blessing of the chairman himself and his team. We plan to go to St. Louis this summer to do a feature-length documentary film on the Uhuru movement. That is going to cost some money, equipment, travel, lodging for both Russ and myself. It's going to take a little time. We're going to have to be there for about a week. And so you can put some shekels in our hat there to help us accomplish those goals. That's our Project 2025, and we are looking very much forward to it. So you can help us out by going to givesendgo.com/do dissidents. Thanks so much to everybody who has already donated. You guys have been very generous. You guys have been awesome. And so we appreciate you very, very much if you can go there and help us make 2025 a bang. It's givesendgo.com/do dissidents.
Yeah, every time Keaton goes off for 20 minutes about the death of the country, people say, what do you guys believe in? Well, that is a very good example. That is what we believe in. We want to go and show, hey, there are successful leftists and left projects. You know how they go and destroy any country that tries to create an alternative to capitalism? They do the same with movements inside the country. And these guys have remarkably managed to survive, not just years, decades. And they have a lot to show for it, and we want to platform that.
Exactly. So thank you very much for your support. Brad Gilbert, thanks for the $2, says, you are the media. Now take a big step back. Yeah, and ... We all know what comes next. Fuck your face.
Yeah.
Michael Castillo, thanks for the $50. Let's hit Michael Castillo with another cowbell, please. And, of course...
Blasphemy against you? Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ, you loser?
Politics is like oxygen to me. I listen to Dan Bongino, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate, Katie Halper, Do Dissidents, Jimmy Dore, Alex Jones, Charlie Kirk, and Sabby Salvati. Does that make me a sellout, or maybe I'm a political whore? No, you got a well-rounded media diet there. Got all your bases covered.
That's impressive.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that is a very impressive roster there. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Oop, what happened here? On this date in 1967, says Michael Castillo for $10, Evel Knievel crashed in his attempt to jump over Caesar's Palace fountain on his motorcycle.
Oh,
He
yeah?
was hospitalized, but the stunt itself made him a household name. Thank you for that factoid, Michael. Mr. Fancy Pants for 1999 says, I was also chosen by my imaginary friend. Happy New Year, fellas. Thank you, Mr. Fancy Pants. Appreciate that very much. All right, we got over here. What do we got over here? Violent Fembot says, I knew Trump would win because my Nova County is usually 50-50, but the enthusiasm for Trump was off the charts this time. Normies are used to Trump being insane, but being poorer is the real deal breaker. Nova, is that in Northern Virginia? But as I understand, Northern Virginia is not that poor, though. That's pretty upscale normie, right? I'm not saying you're wrong. Obviously, you're right. But
yeah, well, it's purple. That's what she's saying.
Yeah. Best hack for when you are anticipating a nasty puke: chug a glass of water mixed with 2 heaping teaspoons of baking soda, neutralizes acid, and you basically vomit up chunky water. An upgrade. You know, you should record that and submit it to Rumble. You can run ads before the videos. That could be a good Rumble ad. Just film yourself saying that and send them an email, and you'll spread the word far and wide. M. Samba says, I always look forward to your podcast, and this one today is no exception. Witty and smart. Happy New Year. Thank you, M. Samba. Appreciate that so much. All right, folks, we're coming down the home stretch of the show. We're going to review our 2024 predictions and give our 2025 predictions in just a moment. But this is what we've all been waiting for, the dissidents of the year, the big ones coming up right now. In fact, we do have now on our... we do have a drum roll. Look at that. We haven't used that in a while. Forgot all about it. All right, folks. Dissidents of the year. Kind of a long list. We'll go through these not quickly, but concisely. We're going to start out with Peanut the Squirrel.
Poor
Peanut the Squirrel, who loomed
Rest in
large
power,
over the election. Rest in power. Peanut. Many people are saying, many fantastic, smart people are saying the election of Donald Trump was Peanut's hand, exerting power over the universe, gifted to him by the mafia state of New York for forcing him out of a happy home and euthanizing him. We have not forgotten you, and America will not either. Peanut the Squirrel.
Never forget.
That's right. Never forget. Peanut the Squirrel. All right, our next couple are some free speech wins of the year, dissidents of the year. Obviously, Julian Assange and the Free Assange movement. One of our great pleasures this year was sending Russ out to London to cover those Day X hearings, where he spent 2 days out in the rainy streets of London on a diet of watery baked beans to fight the good fight and platform those who fight the good fight, everybody at WikiLeaks and the Free Assange movement. This was a massive win, and I know it doesn't feel like a win because it's a plea deal, but I would have told you at the beginning of this year they were going to torture this guy to death and he would never see the light of day again. And it was really a testament to the activism surrounding his cause that compelled the United States government to offer him that plea deal to avoid a PR nightmare of him. I don't even want to finish that sentence, really, of the worst happening during a campaign season. And that is why I think they eventually caved. And it was on the strength of the grassroots. Obviously, our friend Misty Winston, one of the premier Assange activists in this space, had a lot to do with it. Everybody did a heavy lift to get him home where he is. It's probably the feel-good story of the year. And so congratulations to Julian and the family and everybody who worked so hard for so long to see him free once again.
Yeah, that's it. When I was there, Stella, after the first day, they felt that it was a kangaroo court. They didn't use those words, but that's basically what they were saying. After the second day, their mood seemed to lighten. They seemed to feel that the kinds of questions the judges were asking indicated some sympathy to the case that they were making. So, hey, a lot of times in this space, it can feel hopeless. You can feel like, what are we accomplishing? And hey, this is a good example of why you do it. Because there is absolutely no way, if this had not become the global cause it became, that he would be free today. No way.
Exactly. Exactly. Good point,
You
Charles.
you did that, folks.
Absolutely.
You did that.
No, 100%. No doubt about that whatsoever. All right. Our second or third, we want to throw Peanut under the bus so soon. But Uhuru, Dissidents of the Year for fighting a similar battle. Obviously, they did not suffer the same fate that Julian did for so many years, but they were threatened with jail time. They were charged with being Russian agents, which carried a maximum sentence of 15 years, which for O'Malley, that's likely a life sentence, not to be morbid, but he is over 80 years old, and he himself said that if they convict him of being a Russian agent, that's likely it for him. He will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars. They were acquitted of that charge, so they beat that charge outright. They were found guilty on a second charge of conspiracy, which, in our opinion, they will likely beat on appeal, because how could you charge someone with attempting to be a Russian agent when they weren't a Russian agent? The judge said the main mistake they made was not filing paperwork as foreign agents, but they were acquitted of being foreign agents. So they should have been acquitted outright. They were not. The judge sided essentially with them at sentencing and sentenced them to probation, not 1 day behind bars, not one dime of a fine. So that's a huge win for them. And they, just like the Free Assange movement, they fought this fight at the grassroots level. We were privileged to have O'Malley on a few times. I spoke to Penny Hess and their lawyer in an interview as well. So we were privileged to be able to do our small part to chip in. We know Jimmy had him on his show right before the sentencing date as well. And so we were happy to play whatever part we played in this, but more than that, we're happy for them. And they won their freedom by fighting for it. And again, just like in the Julian Assange case, is it a total victory? Not on paper, but in the context of this global crackdown on free speech, to have these two, to have them free is a major victory. And it's a victory that they really fought for and earned by rallying the grassroots, which means they are, of course, among the dissidents of the year. No question about that.
Well, and this is where we just saw a fracture in the MAGA coalition this week around the visas. I suspect you're going to see a fracture around speech as well, because you have people in that lane with very totalitarian tendencies. Then you had Tucker Carlson was the first major person to platform the Uhuru case and to bring it to public attention. So do you wind up seeing a conflict between a crackdown on speech and people like Tucker Carlson, who really, to his credit, took people with whom ideologically, as he said in that interview, he doesn't have a lot in common, and platformed their situation because it was a legitimate speech issue.
100%. All right, now we're going to get into the Palestine dissidents. Rifat al-Hariri, rest in power. Palestinian poet and academic whose book now is on the charts. You can buy it at Goodreads. We'll put a link when we clip this in the description of the video, called If I Must Die. And of course, tragically was killed in an Israeli airstrike. I suspect they targeted him specifically. I don't believe that was an accident. He was a very relatively high-profile writer, poet, and artist, and so obviously deserves his spot on this list. No doubt about that. As does this gentleman who we just did a segment on, Hussam Abu Safia. He was the director of the last functioning hospital in northern Gaza, which was just raided last week, accused without any evidence whatsoever, and that's according to the Associated Press, that's according to Western mainstream media, accused without evidence whatsoever of being a militant. What he was the director of a hospital that was of vital importance, and he stuck with his job and with his patients until the very last moment that he possibly could. And we don't know what shape he's in right now because he is in Israeli custody. So we are hoping for the best, but it does not look good, if I'm to be honest with you. And so there you have that. We just did that segment. We just dropped that clip, I think, this morning, so you can find out more about him. But obviously a worthy recipient. Also, Eisenhower Ezgi, friend of Shama's, who we had on, I think, the day or two after she was killed in the West Bank. She was an activist, went there to protest. and she was shot. Remember, that's the shot that they said bounced off the floor.
Yeah, so it bounced off. Yeah,
Yeah, bounced
magic
off the
bullet.
floor and hit her in the head. So yeah, just
so young, whole
so
life
young.
ahead of her.
Yep, absolutely. Horrible, but these are people who they put it all on the line. All three of them. Here's a feel good story this year. This is a California prisoner. We did a segment on this a few months back. I think it was over the spring or the summer. He goes by Hamza. He chose not to reveal his real name to the media, but he is a California inmate who donated his 13-cent an hour prison labor salary to Palestinian causes. So that is a pretty stunning act of solidarity on his part. That was a great story when we did that. Part of how there's so many stories this year. So part of what we did to come up with this list is we just looked back over the video library to see, is there anything that happened in April that maybe is not at top of mind? And I saw this and I'm like, of course, yes.
Yeah, you can easily wind up succumbing to recency bias. Oh, it happened last week. That's the biggest thing that happened.
Right. Exactly. Now, of course, in an election year, the election is the biggest news event, and that happens right before the end of the year. So there's that, how it coincides. But yes, obviously, he's earned his spot there. Now, this next one is one that we mourn, and obviously, we need people who believe in a free Palestine to be here on earth with us fighting the fight. So we cannot encourage or condone this action, but we can remember fondly a man whose conviction led him to an extreme act of protest, and that's Aaron Bushnell. And that really shocked the conscience of many in this space. I wish I could say it shocked the conscience of the country, but foreign policy remained bottom of the list this election season. Only 4% of the American people said it was a priority on Election Day. So I wish I could tell you it shocked the conscience of the country, but it certainly shocked my it certainly created a wave in our space, and what we do with that is what we do with that. We try our best. That's all we could do, and we got to remember him. Anything on him?
No, I mean, what can I add?
Yeah, what can you add? What can you say? All right. The counterpart to the uncommitted movement, who were the sellouts of the year, the Abandon Harris movement, who stuck it out, who said we are abandoning Joe Biden. We are not only are we not voting for Joe Biden, we are organizing a boycott vote against Joe Biden. They stuck to it to the very end. They took all the slings and arrows that came with it. Hassan Abdel Salam, great guy. We interviewed him. Russ interviewed him in person in Chicago, and then we had both Hassan and Shama on Jimmy's show in the closing weeks of the campaign. Good on them for not bending the knee. It's refreshing to see people who mean what they say in this space, because what do we hear? What do we get a lot of in progressive circles? Oh, we're not giving up this time. And then, but Trump at the end of the day. They stuck it out, and good for them.
Yeah. Oh, picked Waltz. Free school lunches on the menu. We're Democrats. We're back, baby.
Right.
Progressives inside the tent.
Exactly.
Forget about the genocide. Forget about it. We're back on the inside, baby. I'm sorry, man. Like, commentators who went that way, but what a fucking disgrace, man. Majority report. I'm sorry, Vanguard. We try not to bring them up too much because, we don't want to get down the mud there. But what a couple of bitches, man. Oh, my God. Fucking Kyle, Crystal, all these fucking people who used them picking Waltz as some kind. Oh, yeah, no. Genocide.
Right.
Vaguely progressive Midwestern governor. Yeah, well, clearly they just sounded the all clear for all the progressives to run back into the Democratic Party. What a bunch of grifters, man. Meeting him in person, he was a very humane, very humanitarian, very sensitive man.
Yes.
It's very moving to meet him and talk to him. And man, they stuck to their principles, and that's not the way to go. That's not the way to go. Look, those uncommitted people, they're looking for jobs now in government, given the Trump one.
Right, they're like the Sunrise Movement.
Not going to be as, that's what most of these people are. Our revolution, when you see these people who won't really challenge the real power inside they give like vague, it's controlled opposition. I mean, honestly, that's what all these people who ran to back the Democrats as soon as they picked Waltz are. They're controlled opposition. You notice they always find an excuse to tell you why you have to vote for the Democrat every election. In between, they're radicals. Oh, these Democrats. And then they herd you right back in. That's what they're there for. Do they get paid by anyone in the government? I don't know. I think in some cases, yes. In some cases, no. I think you don't need to get paid in that way. It's a lane in media. And they're not, that's a particular lane. There are other lanes that other people pick, but that's a lane. The half-ass radical who always runs back home to the Democrats.
Yep. But not them. Not them. So they are included.
No,
Dissidents.
they did. No, well, that's what I'm saying, man. There's nothing in it for them.
Of course.
There's nothing in it for them. That's pure principle.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. The Boeing whistleblowers who are no longer with us, shall we say, that's what we can prove. What we think is beyond that. Joshua Dean and John Barnett.
Yeah. With John Barnett in particular, it's just very, very, very unlikely. We can't prove anything. It's very unlikely that this man was not murdered.
Yep.
They call it a suicide. It makes no sense. This man was coming to the culmination of years and years and years of effort to reveal what he knew about Boeing, and right before he's going to give a deposition, he commits suicide. If anything, you'd wait until after, right? If you felt that hopeless, you'd at least do that first.
Right. He was on a mission. Right.
He was on a mission. So, yeah, because these things will not be investigated by corporate media or mainstream media, the topic is not up for discussion in the mainstream. Clearly, there are people out there that companies like Boeing can hire to kill people like this. That is the world we're actually living in. We're living in a world where it is, and especially Boeing, it really is not surprising because what do? They're a military contractor. Like, I don't know that all corporations have those hookups, but they do. They do.
If anyone does, it's them, right?
If anyone does, it's them. They know some ex-military kind of people who, do wet work, as they call it. And that's what I would say almost certainly happened to Barnett, and most likely happened to, I'm sorry, I forget his name.
His name is Joshua Dean.
Joshua Dean, as I recall, it was like he suddenly succumbed to a mysterious, odd illness, and he had been in very good shape, and all of a sudden there was this very sudden, bizarre
the freak thing, right?
Yeah. So, yeah,
incredibly courageous, and perhaps paid the price. But that's why it takes such courage to come forward. Speaking of courage, Jeremy Lafredo, we got to give a shout out to one of our peers in this space who was essentially tortured for 3 days in an Israeli prison. What did he have? One Dixie cup and one cup of one Dixie cup full of water and one cup of chocolate pudding in 3 days in Israeli detention for publishing information that PBS had already published, and Israel tried to roust him and say that he had given sensitive information to the enemy by simply publishing the location of missile landings from the Iranian airstrikes. They then sent one of their goons in ultimately and said, get out of here, kid. They basically admitted they had no case and that they had essentially tortured him for no reason, and said, leave and don't come back, which I'm sure he's not itching to go back anytime soon. I'm sure he's enjoying the holidays safe at home, where we're glad he is. But yes, had to give a shout out to Jeremy.
Yeah, and one of the reasons he's on this list, and I said this when this happened, hey, Jeremy knows better than we do what the consequences of getting on the wrong side of the IDF could be. They kill journalists with impunity. No one's going to hold them accountable. That's been demonstrated many times over. They can just whack you, say, yes, the bullet, it bounced. The bullet bounced, right? Just the balls to go there at this moment and do that kind of reporting. I wouldn't do it.
No.
I wouldn't do it. But he did, and we're very lucky he got out.
Of course. Russell wanted me to include this one.
Hey, okay. So let me make my case. All right. It is a hyper competitive industry. She's not Hollywood royalty. She's not a nepo baby. She's not connected like that. She is one of the luckiest people on the planet. She wanted to be a successful musical theater actress. Not only does she become a successful musical actress, she becomes a film star. And you know what she does? She says, fuck the patriarchy, fuck Israel, fuck Hollywood. I'm going to burn my entire career down by just being the most unconscionably obnoxious asshole that Hollywood has ever seen. Everything they cast me in, I'm going to trash the source material. I'm going to deconstruct all of these beloved characters and iconic films that I'm cast in. I'm going to trash my co-stars. I'm just fuck it. I've reached the pinnacle of my career. Nowhere to go but down. I'm going out in a blaze of glory. I'm burning down my entire career. Fuck the fans. Fuck Disney. Fuck everybody. So, as obnoxious and cringe as she might be, that's pretty dissident to just decide at what is she, 22? I'm never going to work again. I'm committed to having a career at McDonald's after this. Fuck it. Whatever.
Royalties, baby. See, he made the case. I didn't even have to. See, you made your case well. All right, folks, so we got one more dissident of the year, and, there are some dissidents who go behind enemy lines, some dissidents who travel into the belly of the beast, or in this case, into the pelvis of the beast. And in this case, we are, of course, referring to Benjamin Netanyahu's enlarged prostate, last-minute contender for dissidents of the year, in before the buzzer, the enlarged prostate of Benjamin Netanyahu, fighting the good fight from a very, very uncomfortable position.
He may have fucked Joe Biden, but he won't be fucking anyone else anytime soon.
That's right. So, well done. Really making the ultimate sacrifice, the enlarged prostate of Benjamin Netanyahu. Enlarged. Some people say he has prostate cancer, and because you don't usually get a prostate removed when it's enlarged. Having it removed suggests cancer. And so Mark Lamont Hill tweeted out that he had heard reporting that he had stage 3 prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. And I tweeted out that, in fact, it's the prostate cancer that has stage 3 Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah.
So we will see which one of those is true. But we know that, see, Benjamin Netanyahu, not all bad. He's got a dissident prostate in there.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, that prostate is doing the Lord's work.
Shout out to Benjamin Netanyahu's prostate. Hillary Hinton. Russell's cackle needs to become a new Wilhelm scream. Thank you. Louise Brooks, thanks for the $50. Let's have a cowbell for Louise Brooks. Happy New Year. Much love to you and everyone. Heading to Paris for my first vacation in years. Oh, that's beautiful. Hoping to find a good French protest to join. There you go.
Find one that's protesting to allow them to access Rumble.
Yeah, there you go. That would be a fun one. Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you, Louise. Appreciate that very much. Long Legs, the best comedy I saw this year. Blood on the Tracks, one of the best albums ever made. That is a great one. Got me through a rough year working in a hellhole. You do what you must do, and you do it well. Thank you very much for that, Furrows Queen. Colorado Watch says thank you for including Rappaport in this segment. Of course, our pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colorado Watch.
He earned it.
Sparky, Trump's Treasury Secretary pick, Scott Bessent, is a Soros stooge, which means he's a CIA stooge. How will Trump neuter the CIA if their stooge is the Treasury Secretary issuing and signing their checks? Of course.
Of course. Isn't he another Goldman Sachs guy?
I think so. One of those. I forget his exact biography, but yeah, one of those types. SB says, you guys see Transformers 1? No, my kids are big Transformers fans, so they've seen it.
I believe
but
I
have
did
not watched
way
it
back.
with them yet.
I believe I did.
Big spoiler ahead. It had class politics with intentional disabled minor worker class. Megatron was basically a communist. No, he's talking about the new one, Transformers 1, which is a new animated one.
No.
Yeah. Michael Castillo, thanks for the $10, says, I also listen to PBD as well. Max Blumenthal blew me away when he was on PBD podcast. Funny how he hasn't had Max on since. Free Palestine. Thank you, Michael Castillo. Kevin O'Neill, thanks for the £20, says, good work, do Dissidents. Thank you for that. Appreciate that very much. Danny says, I demand a recount. Lindsey Graham should be number one worst person. Yeah, he's always a contender.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
He's just kind of like background evil. He's
Right.
like off-white paint evil.
Exactly. All right, folks, we got 2 more orders of business. These won't take very long, but we want to make our predictions for 2025 and also account for our predictions going into 2024. So every New Year's Eve show, we make predictions for the new year. So we're going to go over what our predictions were for last year and see which ones came true and which ones didn't. We'll see how we did. So I'll go first. I'll run my scorecard down for you here. Of course, this is the big one I got right. This is the ultimate one. This is the one that nullifies any other mistake I may have made.
Yeah.
Biden drops out. I said in 2024, New Year's Eve last time, Biden's not going to be on the ballot in November. And, of course, I got that one right. That was my gut. That was my look into the future. I just couldn't see it. I just didn't see it. It's as simple as that. And that was correct. Now, this one is a push. I predicted single digits for RFK. I did not think he would register very well in the polls. I predicted he would be at about 5%. Obviously, that's a push because he did not end up on the ballot. And as we said earlier in the show, RFK is one of the winners of the year because he went from running a surely doomed Democratic primary campaign to switching to independent, to endorsing the Republican, to becoming the nominee for Health and Human Services. That's how you play power politics, unlike Bernie Sanders, who's okay, all right, I guess I guess I won't win. I guess Hillary Clinton understands that we have to raise the wages of working people and tell the billionaire class that they can't have it all.
I'll do everything you ask, but I'm not squeezing that grundle.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's a push. That's a push. No point for or against on that one. Hey, this was one that looks especially good right now. And we'll talk about a buzzer beater. TikTok survives. Yes, that's true. TikTok is still standing.
By 2 weeks.
Still standing. They got to get me through 7 more hours, and then this one is official. But yes, TikTok has survived 2024, which was my prediction. Now, this is the only one I really took a bath on here, and I don't even know why I said this. Actually, looking back on this, I have no idea why I would have thought this. But for some reason, I thought there was going to be a peace deal in Ukraine by April. Now, I don't know why I said April as the deadline. I'd have to go back and check the tape. I don't know why I thought that, but it's not worth reliving that horror because, boy, did I shit the bed on that one. So that is a knock against me, and I did say there will be a Deus Ex Machina and to expect the unexpected in 2024. And we really got 2. We got the Biden debate meltdown and we got the Trump near-miss assassination attempt.
I mean, honestly, with all due respect, brother, that's kind of like a gypsy prediction, man.
What do you mean?
You have a lot of sadness in your past.
Yeah. Well, no. I said there will be a seismic event during the campaign. We had two. A seismic event where a debate meltdown prompts a candidate to drop out, and an assassination attempt. Point to me. I'm giving it to myself. You can't do anything about it. So there you go. I get 3 in my favor, 1 push, 1 strike against. 3 for 5 with 1 tie. It was 3-1-1 last year.
Right.
Not
so
bad.
These banners are up here?
Yeah, the banners are up there. So you got to go for the 2024. Here, I'll do it for you. Here, I'll hit it. I found it. All right, so Russell's first prediction, the wheels come off Tesla.
Okay, so I know people are going to debate me on this, so I feel like this is kind of a mixed one. All right, so Tesla, the stock was doing pretty badly all year. You know, it was kind of cruising along around the bottom of its range, way off its all-time high. As you could see, after he endorsed Trump, the stock started to do better. After Trump won, boom. But stock price is not the whole story. So did the wheels came off? I mean, kind of literally, actually. Tesla sales have been down this year. And just because the stock price is going up on speculation about what he's going to be able to get out of a Trump administration doesn't mean the company is doing well. That's speculation on 2025. Yeah, backed up inventory on both the Cybertruck and on the car. J.D. Powers reported this year that Tesla's malfunctions are piling up and worse than ever. And, everybody who knows anything about the cars they make in China say the biggest reason that the stock popped with Trump is because Trump is a protectionist. And if Elon has his ear, part of what he's probably going to, top of his wish list, don't let these electric cars from China in, because supposedly they blow Teslas away. And that would be the end of the company if people could actually buy Chinese cars. Going forward into 2025, hey, and this isn't just a Tesla thing, this is a market thing. The demand for EVs is just drying up generally. So I don't know how you want to rate that. I'd say half and half. Like, yes, the company had a bad year because Musk backed Trump. The stock ended strong. The stock ended up something like 60%. So 50-50.
You judge that as you will. Prediction number 2. All right, this was one that you were wrong, but you were wrong by half an inch.
I was wrong by half an inch. Half an inch. I mean, they got the ear.
Right. Exactly.
They got the ear, I mean, just a little bit. If that kid had spent a little more time in MK Ultra training school, that would have been the end of it. No, I mean, that was really premised on what I've been saying all year, that if Trump is allowed to become the president, I have to reevaluate what I believe about the deep state, or I have to reevaluate what I believe about Trump. And as I said in my Tulsi segment, it looks like I got to reevaluate what I believed about Trump. A lot of people in our audience said, hey, he's not a threat to the deep state. It's a big op. They're fine with Trump. And at this point, I have to say they're right. When you look at who he picked, the people he picked are absolutely no threat to entrenched interests in a meaningful way. Not the ones that count.
All right. Well, there you go. You got a bad break.
That's just that wrong.
Took a bad hop there. Well, the ball took a bad hop, and that's that's a Bill Buckner job there. There you go. The GOP take the White House and the House. Democrats retain Senate. Well, that was a clean sweep for the Republicans this year.
Yeah, so but I was close.
That's 2 out of 3. That's 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. All right.
These are predictions from last year's New Year's show, by the way. Yes, we've made predictions since then, but these are our official predictions at the end of last year.
These are the official ones.
These are the looks into the crystal ball.
We play it straight down the middle.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So that I actually had to look into. Honestly,
the commercial real estate market collapse, yes.
Yeah, that actually did happen. The reason you're not hearing about it is because the banks have chosen not to foreclose.
Fake news media doesn't want Russell to have a win. That's what it is.
Well,
they're horrible people. They're horrible, dishonest people.
Bloomberg here. The commercial real estate crash is battering even the safest bonds. So here you see these bonds falling off a cliff, going from B- rating to triple C-, going from AAA rating to B- rating. In some markets, commercial real estate prices are down 77%. And these bonds are not collapsing because the banks are kicking the can down the road on the commercial property loans. So you're having a triple default rate from normal on these commercial loans. But the banks are choosing not to foreclose because they know it could start a chain reaction.
What outlet is that from? Is that from your private Substack that you publish? You print articles that validate your crystal ball predictions? I'm teasing. What is that? Yeah. So I'm just teasing. Go ahead.
I mean, I could go back. No, we were a little rushed today. I usually put in the name of the outlet.
I'm fucking with you. The joke was, did you write that article yourself?
Well,
prove
it
yourself
says
right.
RD at the bottom, but that's not me.
Ah, plot thickens.
No, yeah, no. The bond market is way down. The commercial real estate market has never recovered from the pandemic. But as you can see in this, and I will read it, double commercial property loan defaults are at their highest point in 10 years. And as the Financial Times reported Thursday, happy, the situation has raised worries that lending practices known as extend and pretending is masking an increasing system risk. They are kicking the can down the road, Ivan Sillick, a principal at accounting firm Baker Tilly's Financial Services Division, told the Financial Times. I think lenders are trying to work out the problems with these loans, but if rates don't come down, borrowers are not going to be able to make payments. So basically, it's an article reporting on an article.
There you go. All right, what do we get else? Bitcoin reaches $100,000. That happened. Boom.
Boom.
Yep. Easy. No disputing that one. We actually covered that when it happened. I even forgot that was a prediction of yours when we covered it. But that happened late in the year as well. And Trump did a big celebratory dance for Bitcoin at $100K a year. All right, folks. So that's how we did.
I'm not touching Bitcoin for next year. I mean, I'm not making a prediction.
Oh, there you go. Well, all right. So there you go. That was our scorecard. That is how we did. So what did you have, Russell? You give yourself a half a point on Tesla, and then two out of three.
Half a point on Tesla. Commercial real estate, it did crash.
All right, so we'll give you that one. Bitcoin. There you go. So
all right, so that's 1.5. You got 2. I don't know how you rank the 2 out of 3.
I don't know. If you
Bitcoin, I got right,
that.
and Trump totally wrong.
Yeah, so you got 3 1/3 to 1 1/3, 3 1/3 to 1 2/3 losses, and I did 3 1 1. I did 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. So there you go. That's the scorecard. All right, we got one more segment left. We're just going to take some super chats and rumble rants first. We're going to do register our predictions for 2025. Eric Maines, loser of the year, Brian Thompson or Peanut. Yeah, I vote BT. Peanut had a bigger fan base among fellow rodent kind, and no one in media had to fake sympathy. Good one. Thank you, Eric. Fiercely Independent, thanks for the $2. Jenk should be Dissident of the Year, Goat Grifter. There you go. Well, we gave him one of the hacks of the year. You just got to rewind. Big ups, Russell and Keaton for a good year, says Conor McGregor was not my friend. Thank you, Conor. Appreciate that. Angry Bird, thanks for the 20 pounds. Happy New Year, guys. Hogmanay has been canceled in Scotland. Not by the Moran Kidstaver, but by the good old Scottish weather. Interesting. Well, thank you for staying up late with us, and Happy New Year, right? Is it midnight in England now? No, one more hour, right? Depends on daylight savings time. It's 5 o'clock. I think they're 6 ahead or 5
They're
ahead.
6 ahead, I think.
Okay, so closing in. Sparky, thanks for the $10. Just a reminder, Sparky, thanks for the $5. Happy New Year. Great work, fellas. Keep on trucking. Thank you, Sparky, for a great year. Just a reminder, Pete Hegseth is a protege of Lindsey Graham. Graham introduced him into the media around 2010 or so as part of an AstroTurf group of Iraq War veterans for continuing the Iraq War. Yes, we remember that. Mo Mooney, thanks for the $5. Honorable mention for Gonzalo Lira. Ah, yes. You know, we not only is that an honorable mention, we should have included him. That was an oversight. So thank you.
That's a good point.
For that. Thank you. Yeah, there's certain things that you're going to overlook, and that's admittedly one of them. So thank you for mentioning that. Steve McNelly, $50. Let's have a cowbell for Steve McNelly. Thank you very much, Steve. Says, good day, gents. From 2025, thanks for the $50 for all your hard work last year. Looking forward to seeing you on the other side. Happy New Year, everyone, in the best chat. Yes, best chat of the year goes to the Do Dissidents chat, of course. Marianne of the year running for DNC chair as we speak. Yes, Marianne Williamson is throwing her hat in the ring to be the next DNC chair. Absolutely.
I saw that.
God bless her. Violent Fembot says Northern Virginia is comprised of the super rich Beltway crowd, and we working class normies who have to serve them and thus despise them. Thank you, Violent Fembot.
It's a lot cheaper to run for DNC chair than it is to just do a book tour.
Exactly. Yes. And 8 I am. Thanks for the $20. It's my name backwards. Made, okay. And coincidentally, my profession and aid, Diana, I am. Ah, interesting. Okay, Diana, I am. Thank you for that $20. Appreciate that very much. Netanyahu's cancer may save the entire planet from nuclear holocaust. There may be the ultimate hero of 2025. Pray for metastasis. Thank you. Violent Vimbot.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
That's right. All right, folks, we're going to read down our predictions for 2025 before we close the lights on this show and hence 2024. So here go my 5. Doge disbands. And yes, I was telling Russ, like I think I told you guys, that even before Elon and Vivek came out for the H-1B visas and stabbed MAGA in the back, I just had a feeling it was too many egos in the room.
Yeah.
And that eventually there would be a parting of ways. And, you know, Trump right now is sticking with Elon because that's where the money is, obviously. But I would not count on Doge lasting past 2025. My is that Doge will be folded by the end of this year. I could expect some sort of a falling out there. So that's one prediction in the can. Doge does not make it to 2026 as planned, but folds. This one I'm pretty confident in. Richie Torres, friend of the show, Richie Torres, does in fact, in my opinion, run for governor.
He's Richie Torres around here.
That's right. I predict he will make a run for the governorship of New York State. He has spoken vocally against Kathy Hochul, who is a very vulnerable incumbent. Her approval rating is about 34% as we speak now. And so my guess is that Richie Torres is going to run. He has been criticizing her, saying she cannot be the nominee. That's all but announcing he's running. And so my guess is that he's going to run. And I said this is part of why he cozies up to the Zionists. It's not because Richie Torres cares about Israel or even cares about Jewish people. He knows a lot of very, very wealthy donors in New York are Zionist donors and that they will back him if he tries to make a move like this, which it costs a lot of money to run for governor, and he's going to have that at his disposal when he does, and I predict that he will. All right, so I was wrong about this last year, but you know I'm a stubborn bastard. I'm going back. I think the Ukraine war will end this year. Now, I don't think it's going to end as quickly as Donald Trump promised it would, but at this point, I think given Trump's victory and given the lack of political will to keep funding it here in America, eventually that beast is just going to get starved. And we know tragically, obviously, Ukraine is running out of men. It's a horrible crime that's been perpetrated on that country by NATO using its generations of young men to throw into a meat grinder for the Imperial West. But I do believe it will, of its own exhaustion, come to a close this year at some point. I'm not going to be so bold as to predict when. I do think it will happen not as soon as Trump has promised, but I do think the Ukraine war will formally conclude this year. Another war that I think will expand is the Greater Israel War. I think you are going to see increased hawkishness from Israel with the full support of Donald Trump and Miriam Adelson. I think Israel grabs a lot of land this year. I think that only gets worse. So I think whatever gains for peace are made in Ukraine, and it's really not a gain. It's a tragedy that unfortunately they're going to run out of bodies, and we're going to run out of will to keep throwing more bodies at the problem. It's not a triumph for peace. It's just that will have run its course. I think this will take its place. I think it's going to be pretty horrible stuff that we're going to see in the Middle East this year. I don't think the Middle East is going to become a more peaceful place. I think you're going to see Israel continue to make the move that they set out to make the day after October 7th. I think that will only increase under Donald Trump. And finally, I think this all adds up to Trump closing out the year at about a 40% favorability rating. We already saw a Truth Social that he tweeted out yesterday saying there's going to be a depression and to blame the Democrats. Right? Elon Musk has promised economic pain.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like things are going to get much more peaceful in the Middle East. Looks like there are going to be a lot of crises, foreign and domestic, that are going to saddle him. And I do think maybe not buyer's remorse by the end of the year because the Democrats are in such shambles. I don't think you're going to get, oh, if only Kamala had won.
Yeah.
But I do
right.
think his favorability is going to take a hit pretty quickly. I think the split among MAGA now between the tech bro MAGA and the sort of earthy populist MAGA, I think that's a sign of things to come. I think their own coalition is going to fracture in ways that we anticipated happening, maybe not as quickly as because of this H-1B visa thing. But I do think when you look at the challenges that the country has in store, when you look at the state of the world, when you look at economic trends, and you look at the fact that Trump just intrinsically has high negatives, I think that all adds up to not a catastrophic year for Donald Trump politically, but close to it. I think he's going to be struggling to crack 40 in the approval ratings by this time next year. And those are my 5 predictions for 2025.
Yeah, you can see the blush coming off the rose real quick. That honeymoon ended real fast.
Yeah, exactly. So those are my 5. All right, Russell's got his 5. Number 1.
Okay, so the end of the superhero genre and the decline of Hollywood. I think what you're going to have is this is for my geek people. You don't all speak this language. Brave New World, the Captain America movie, is going to be a fucking box office disaster. I think Superman, all eyes are on the Superman movie for whether Hollywood can keep this going, the whole superhero thing going. I think it's going to underperform. I'm not saying it's going to be a bomb, but I think it's going to underperform. And at that point, because they got so fully invested in this genre, where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? They're going to bring back period costume dramas? Like, where would they go from the corner they painted themselves into now? Now, when you combine that with the fact that the purpose of Hollywood is becoming less and less obvious, the whole point of it existing is becoming less and less obvious. And I think the AI technology is not this year, but over time is more and more going to allow anybody with a computer to do a Hollywood quality movie. Once you remove the barrier to production of that makes an industry, right? You need a certain investment in capital. And once you don't need all that to make a movie anymore, that's going to be the end of Hollywood. I think what you're seeing with Hollywood now is kind of the next wave of the democratization of content. We saw it first in media, hence you are the media now. That's going to happen with Hollywood. But I think you have these companies like Apple, like Google, that would like to be like Amazon, where they have their own in-house studio and they have their own content library. And just like, hey, FAO Schwartz used to have its flagship across from the Plaza Hotel in New York. And it's not that they weren't profitable. It's that they can't afford to just have a retail outlet as an advertisement the way that companies like Apple can. So their landlord quadrupled their lease. They had to leave. Apple took over. I'm sure they don't make a profit on having that. That's what these movie studios are going to be like for Apple, for Google to own them. It's part of their brand. It's part of their advertising. They'll figure out ways to monetize the content through their various businesses and social media networks in cases where they have such. So I think by the end of the year, you're going to see at least one tech company in negotiations to buy a major studio. And I think the decline of Hollywood is going to continue to accelerate. And actually, I did that in the other segment. Okay, so next one. I think Kathleen Kennedy, the thing that wouldn't die, I think she's finally going to be out at Disney. At this point, she has destroyed every Lucasfilm property. And I think on her end, look, clearly there's a reason they haven't fired her yet. Maybe she's got some Diddy videos sitting in a safe somewhere that she threatens to release. But she has clearly at this point gotten her revenge on every man who ever made her get them coffee when she was an assistant to Spielberg. I think her work there is done. She has destroyed the legacy of George Lucas, of Spielberg. She, just Indiana Jones just burned all of these patriarchal franchises to the ground. Her work there is done. What more is there for her to do at this point? Like, they're not going to greenlight any more projects out of Lucasfilm. It's just costing them too much money to let her keep destroying these franchises. So I think she finally calls it a day. I think she finally retires. So I think Kennedy will be gone by the end of the year. Okay, so what's the impact of clearly the woke mind virus? It's done as a major cultural force. You'll always get fringe people who are into these kinds of ideas or whatever they permeate, whatever they distort into over time. But it's pretty over. You've got a whole YouTube and social media economy that is built around pointing out woke excesses and beating chests about it. Those channels are fucked. They are fucked. The pop culture channels that really focus on that, once there is no longer, speak of the devil, a Disney outrage to build your videos around, once you don't have a lot of Rachel Zeglers allowed to talk anymore, getting cast in major films so that anyone cares about what they say. Once all this dries up, in other words, they won. Okay, well, now you're going to have to figure out what your channel's about.
Right, what next?
What do you do next? Now, for the pop culture channels, the more talented of them, I don't think they'll get the same numbers they got on the woke wars. But the more talented of them will be able to shift to just being nerd channels that cover what game is coming out. They'll just be like review and analysis channels. The hangers-on, the marginal ones, they're gone. They're gone. They're just not going to be able to sustain themselves. People like Blair White, Buck Angel, done. The whole trans thing, they're already, if you look at their numbers compared to 2 years ago to now, yeah, they're already pretty much done. But that's going to be, you won't be able to fill a McDonald's with the number of people you'll get watching things like that going forward. People like Matt Walsh, like that lane, again, I think their numbers are going to be way down. They'll be able, look, Fox News has been doing did you hear what that liberal said about mayonnaise? They've been doing that shit for 20 years. So it's not like they're not going to be able to do it anymore, but I think there's going to be really diminishing returns on that kind of content for people in the kind of Daily Wire cultural outrage industry.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. It's already a bit passé, and I think with the ushering of, the new Trump era, I think it'll be even more so.
Right. You're not outsiders anymore. So that whole we're fighting the evil woke institutions, like who's going to want to watch that?
Yeah. Now this one I share with you. I agree with you. I don't know which of these will go, but I was almost going to make one of my predictions that one of the banner MSNBC shows is going to be canceled.
Yeah. MSNBC, like when you think about, okay, well, first of all, what it is losing so much money, and they're already going to spin it off from the main corporation, which is kind of a step towards either folding it or turning it into something else. I don't know that they're going to go so far as to change the name, but I think they're going to, they might. They're definitely going to try to do a major rebrand. And when you think about, well, what lane would they be looking at that's not just CNN, that looks something like a successful answer to CNN? News Nation. Everyone laughed when they announced News Nation and they signed Chris Cuomo. They've actually ended up being halfway decent. They do some very good investigative reporting pieces. I think they look to that as a North Star. If you're going to go there, you got to get rid of Joy Reid. You got to get rid of Morning Joe. They're not going to get rid of Maddow because she brings them in money. But I think they're going to try to build out, like, that's just one part of what we do. Maddow is her own thing. They're going to just try to make her part of the brand in isolation.
Right, like Paul
and
Krugman at the New York Times. He writes op-eds every once in a while.
Exactly. She doesn't define whatever they call it, MSNBC or whatever they call it. But they cannot make that move without firing these people.
I agree that at least one of those will go. Here we go.
Okay, now that they don't need him anymore, they're going to come clean about what's wrong with him, especially because they're going to have to give him medical treatment that they're not going to be able to hide. So they're going to admit what's wrong with him. They're going to come out.
Meaning Joe Biden, yeah.
Meaning Joe Biden. They're going to come out that he has Alzheimer's or he has Lewy body dementia. A lot of people have said Parkinson's, combination of those. They're going to admit that he's senile.
Yep, I agree. I think at a certain point later in the year, they will come out with a formal diagnosis. They could cut it close. They could try to stretch it a year to make it look like they weren't full of shit this year. But I think, at some point in this year, they're going to have to get a diagnosis. All right, and now Russell wanted to do 6. He's cheating. He's hedging.
Lily Phillips attempts to sleep with 1,000, only manages 999.
One short. Damn.
One short.
Damn. There you are, folks. Those are our predictions locked in for you guys. So thank you very much for indulging us this afternoon. Hey, before we go, I want to just tell you about one of our other Dissident sponsors. His name is Andrew Richard Malcolm, and I'm going to read an excerpt from Die Coast by Cecilia, as read by Andrew Richard Malcolm in the movie Heidi's Friend Diogenes. The reading is a story about Einstein's philosophical friendship with Hedwig, born 1916 to 1921, and it overlaps a videographic exploration of the COVID era 2021 to 2023. In 1920, in Bad Nauheim, Einstein had a confrontation with Johannes Stark, later described by Max Born as the moment that the great danger of anti-Semitism, quote-unquote, to German science first appeared. These events are juxtaposed against COVID-era science as illuminated through the eyes of John Campbell, Russell Brand, Ursula Franklin, and Malcolm himself. You can find the excerpt at andrewrichardmalcolm.com, as well as the paperback and ebook. You can order the book through your local bookstore as well. So check it out, Dissidents, and much love to the community. Thank you, Andrew. That link is, once again, andrewrichardmalcolm.com. Go to his website, and you can purchase that or read more excerpts from Die Coast by Cecilia, which is, of course, the name of the book. Thank you, Andrew, for your support, and head over there and support Andrew. All right, folks, thank you for the show today. We're going to read some final Rumble Rants and Super Chats, and then we close the lights on today and close the lights on 2024. Thank you very much for being a part of this year with us, everybody. Please hit that subscribe button so you're with us next year. Hit that follow button over on Rumble. Black Spock, thanks for the $1.99 super sticker. Sparky, thanks for the $5. Boeing doesn't need to hire hitmen for whistleblowers. The CIA handles it on Boeing's behalf for free. There you go. Part of the deal. Susanna, thanks for the $10. Fantastic end of year show, you two. So grateful I found you on Jimmy Dore Show. Well, thankful to you too, Susanna.
And
wishing
and to Jimmy.
And to Jimmy for a wonderful year. Yes, and we're going to start out 2025 partnering with Jimmy again. We're going to be hosting the Jimmy Dore Show the 6th, the 8th, the 10th, and the 13th of January. So keep an eye out for us over there.
We got to get on inviting guests. We got to make a list.
Yeah, we got to figure that out. We'll find some great people. Wishing all the best to the DD fam in 2025. Thank you, Susanna. Very kind of you to say. John N., thanks for the $5. I just sold 5 of my 6 Tesla shares because I lost my job. First time I made money on Wall Street. LOL, love from Florida. Well, congratulations. I hope that gets you through.
Hey, you're selling it. You're selling it up.
There you go.
It's up right now.
Super Grog, thanks for the $10. You guys convinced me Camel Toe was going to win, so I cashed out my Bitcoin and bought booze. Trump won, Bitcoin surged, and I missed out. It's okay. I know you didn't deliberately ruin my life. Apologies about that. Thank you, Super Grog.
We hawk-2'd you.
We hawk-2'd you. Yeah, exactly. MedWeb, I think Rachel Zegler is terrific. Just great. Thank you, MedWeb. Brad Gilbert, thanks for the $2. Go big or go home. Project Bluebeam or Convid 2.0. So Bluebeam is the drones, right? I would say,
Bluebeam is the fake alien invasion.
Yeah, that's what people thought that the drones were Bluebeam.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Bluebeam. That's the more fun option. That's the more fun. I'm gonna be optimistic. Plus, an alien invasion when Trump is president would be the funniest way to go out as a planet.
It really would. Yeah.
Imagine Trump versus the aliens.
That would be like Tim Burton, Mars.
They're pouring in through the ozone. They're pouring in.
We have to find out what the hell is going on.
What the hell is going on? Does Russell have USD 30 for New York Art Museum fee? $30. That's each entry. No workers at Carrie Bradshaw's hangout spot. Viva Palestine. Viva Finkelstein. Thank you.
I mean, okay, so I mean, I'm not quite sure what you mean. If you're talking about like museum fees to get in, I have a New York tour guide license. Most of them I wouldn't have to pay.
The Met, you could just go in. It's a donation. You don't
and
have
the
to pay
Met, if you're a New Yorker, they changed it if you're out of state. Now you got to pay
really?
if you're out of state.
That's bullshit. Yeah, it used to be you could just say, I want to give you $1. And
yeah. It's still like that if you have a New York residence.
Interesting. LTS, thanks for the $5 just because. I like that rationale. Thank you. Diane, thanks for the $10. Be well in the new year. Thank you. Best find of 2024 was DD and Jimmy Dore. It was the LaRouche group that informed me of your backing for Jose Vega. Vega in 2025. Absolutely. Absolutely. A great year for Jose as well. I was behind on my viewing during Christmas, says Freebie for Life. The Tulsi and Elon Vivek as MAGA segments were amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the truth-telling and entertainment this year. You keep me informed and sane. Well, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
EJ, imagine, did I miss the mention of Luigi? Yes, he was the slacker of the year for not having done anything.
He didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything this year. We couldn't give him an award because he didn't do anything.
As a jury is bound to discover.
Exactly. I mean, he didn't do anything, so we can't really give him an award. He was set up, so we figured we should recognize him for having done nothing since he's being persecuted for having done nothing.
Yes.
Eric Husso says we forgot Aaron Bushnell. No, we did not. We put him in there.
He
is in there. He's in Dissidents of the Year. Look, take another look there, Eric. We definitely, he was top of mind for that, for sure. I predict our alien overlords will arrive in 2025. There you go. Thank you, Eric. It's funny how that drone thing just really fell out of the news all at once. Just never mind. Unsolved. Never mind. We'll fight to the last Ukrainian, Lindsay Pincushion Graham. Thank you, Jenna Tillis. Absolutely. I predict Kyle Kalinske will go redhead in attempt to woo conservative. There you go. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. The China Shell. Forget what liberals say about mayo. Ronnie said ketchup was a vegetable. Happy New Year. That's right. He did say ketchup was a vegetable. That's why America loved him. He's a real American. TPS Report 13. Nathaniel Ratcliffe and the Night Sweats ringing in 2025. SOB, give me a drink, por favor. H1B1 bartender. Oh, nice. Cool. It's a good band. Quality musical act. Didn't Russell predict DeSantis will be ushered in as new Reagan? That was last year. That was 2023. That was the 2022 into 2023.
I didn't make a DeSantis prediction.
Not this year. Not this year. Though, there's still time. It's not Inauguration Day. Anything can happen.
Here comes Ron.
Here comes Ron. Crypto Bambi, thanks for the $10. Says, hey, DD, thanks for everything in 2024. You guys have great analysis. Truly appreciate it. Bambi. Thank you, Bambi.
Thank you.
Maurizio Moretti, I like that name. Happy New Year from Italy. Signed, an old, tired Bolshevik. Antonio Gramsci is overrated. There you go. Thank you, Maurizio. Appreciate that. All right, folks, we want to thank Jake for hanging out with us on New Year's Eve, and we want to thank you oh so much for a life-changing 2024, which it has been for us. And so we thank you for making...
It really has, man.
Yes, making our dream jobs happen. And thanks to all of you in the audience. Obviously, thanks to Jimmy, if you're out there, for entrusting us with your platform, and which you will entrust us with again next week for some reason. But we appreciate it very much.
We have not been able to ascertain quite yet.
Right. Not been able to ascertain quite yet. But you guys have been amazing this year. It's been a truly amazing year. It's a privilege to be able to do this. And so we just thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We will see you Thursday, January 2nd, bright and early, 9 a.m.
Should we announce now? Somebody mentioned it in the chat.
What?
Keaton has another pair of twins on the way.
Oh, yeah, stop. No, wrong. Fake news. Misinformation.
Yes, I would also like to thank all of you. It has been just a wild, crazy ride this year, from going out to the Assange rally to the Chicago DNC convention, meeting RBN. Obviously, this year started doing Jimmy's show. Just some amazing experiences being involved in the Jose campaign. This has just been a great year. And I think we're both really looking forward to, now that this election from hell is done, doing some real mutual aid and community building work. And we're able to do that because of all of you. So thank you very much. Thank you for your trust.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely.
We get things wrong, but only because we're stupid.
Only because we're stupid. That's right.
Not because we're dishonest. Yeah, right. We try.
Mrs. Thanks for the $5 in sacred geometry or numerology. Number 9 is the most powerful and represents completion. 2 + 0 + 2 + 5 = 9. Thank you for that, Mrs. Appreciate that. All right, folks. Well, we will see you again in 2025, Thursday, January 2nd at 9 a.m., and then post-duopoly show this week, Friday night on the 3rd. That's going to be a really fun one. Appreciate you all so much. I know we've said it a bunch. Can't say it enough. Thank you so much for a wonderful year. Enjoy tonight. Be safe. Be safe tonight. We don't like Uber and Lyft. We hate the way they treat their drivers, but Uber and Lyft is better than a drunk driving accident. So do what you got to do and be safe out there and have fun and nurse the hangover tomorrow. And we'll see you back Thursday morning, 9 a.m., bright and early for some morning dew. Until then, we say farewell to you and to 2024. Until we see you again next year, be safe and be well.
Last one for the year. Courage.
Please clap.